All right, the time is now 5:32 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the February 12, 2026 Prince George's County Board of Education Budget Work Session and public hearing for the FY 2027 Interim Superintendent Proposed Operating Budget. I'm Jonathan Briggs, Vice Chairman of the Prince George's County Board of Education. I want to thank you all for joining us. The chairman would like to inform the public that Spanish interpretation is available by clicking on the globe at the bottom of the screen. Could the Spanish interpreter assist with translating this announcement in Spanish, please?
Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español en la computadora en la sección Zoom en la parte baja de la pantalla, habrá un globo de interpretación. Haga clic en ese globo y seleccione Español. En un dispositivo móvil en la sección Zoom en la parte baja de la pantalla, toque el icono del eclipse en la parte derecha, toque Language Interpretation, toque Spanish.
Thank you so much, Ms. Acevedo. For anyone unable to join us live, this meeting is being recorded and will be available for later viewing on the PGCPS YouTube channel. In keeping with the board's rules of procedure, section 4, internet meetings, the internet standing rules are as follows. Members shall keep their video on and remain on camera at all times, keep their microphones on mute until recognized by the chairman, raise their hand icon and wait to be recognized by the chairman, and unmute their microphone to speak and mute it when done speaking. Members may speak twice on any motion for 2 minutes each time. Failure to adhere to the internet standing rules will result in the member being removed until the member can rejoin when the rules can be adhered to. For recording purposes, the chairman reminds all to ensure that their microphones are muted when not speaking and turned on while speaking for recording purposes. Before we proceed, the chairman reminds everyone to adjust their wireless communication devices to prevent technical interference with the meeting's recording. Please ensure all microphones are muted until the chairman grants you the floor. Lastly, in line with policy 8345, public comment, it is established that the public can register on site for public hearings until the public is notified that the testimony registration form is closed. The chairman wishes to inform the public that the registration link for tonight's public hearing will remain open until 7:15 p.m. to accommodate additional comments. To register, please visit the link displayed on the screen or scan the QR code. Ms. McMillian, please call the roll.
Ms. Ajakaye? Dr. Anderful?
Present.
Ms. Boozer Strother?
Present.
Mr. Briggs?
Present.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Goins McCants?
Present.
Dr. Moss? Ms. Oliva?
Present.
Mr. Jackson? There are 6 members present.
Great. There are 6 present. A quorum is present. If there is no objection, the February 12th, 2026 meeting agenda will be adopted as amended. The chairman would like to inform the public that the board office and internal audits presentation has been moved to the February 19th budget work session and public hearing to allow the administration additional time to review the board's budget cuts. There being no objection to the February 12th, 2026 meeting agenda, it is adopted as amended. The chairman recognizes board member Goins McCants, chair of the Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee, to open the budget work session. Board member Goins McCants.
Thank you, Vice Chair Briggs. And thank you everyone else for being here tonight. These budget work sessions are intended to address questions and provide answers regarding the budget. Each division will have 10 minutes to present and provide an overview of its mission, core services, and budget. So without further ado, the committee chair recognizes Dr. Collins for the budget process overview.
Thank you, Board Member Goins McCants, and on behalf of Interim Superintendent Dr. Sean Joseph, thank you all again for providing this time for our team to present. So this evening, we will continue our presentation of the proposed budget revisions by our divisions. We want to make sure we preserve the integrity of our primary mission and ensure there is no compromise into the sustainability of instructional quality, leadership, development, or service delivery. So these budget work sessions are really important for us to engage the board, also the larger community. Tonight we'll begin with the proposed FY 2027 operating budget. We will provide an overview similar to what was provided last week. We just want to make sure that for those that were not able to join us last week, we provide another high-level overview of some of the key points that we want to make sure are very clear to the public. So with that said, I will turn it over to Chief Howell to kick us off. Chief Howell?
Good evening. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so before we get into it, just wanted to kind of give a little bit of backdrop. And first off, good evening to board members, our PGCPS family, staff, community, stakeholders. This evening, we want to continue our deep dive into the 2027 proposed operating budget. As shared last week, the 27 proposed budget book is a data-rich document with required elements that must capture certain components as outlined in legislation. That includes our budget and accounting methodology, our fund structure, our revenue sources, expense categories by these state mandated buckets, just to name a few. And while this format is required by law, the structure does not really lend itself to telling a clear story of operational budget considerations. And so that is the goal of the work sessions that we're having over these next few weeks. So when we were last together, we reviewed the Division of Academics, Operations, and School Support and Leadership. And tonight, we will review the Division of Accountability, Human Resources, and Information Technology. So this here is a familiar slide that we've ground ourselves in terms of our overall process and where we stand. We had a gap coming into this process, a budget gap of $150 million. We've worked towards closing that gap, achieving 99% closure and identifying reductions of around $148 million. We know that we have planned enhancements or investments for 2027 that are being proposed, which includes $35 million in accelerants and another $23 million that's tied to the cost of doing business. So at a high level, the gap that we knew we had coming into this was really tied to maintaining our employee compensation commitments that have been negotiated. In addition to that, we have commitments to our retirees as well. And then one point that I do want to clarify, because it did come up as a question later on, is around the adjustment that we're having to make. That's actually an impact to increase our budget for 2027, and that is the making the adjustment to our salary lapse assumption. This is not a cut, this is an expense, because we want to make sure that we're properly reflecting the expense associated with filled positions for the coming year. Because we've had a pretty dramatic change in our fill rate and our vacancy rate for 2026, which we anticipate to continue in 2027, we have to adjust that assumption that's currently in our base budget. So that is actually an add back to our budget. So these are the mandatory investments that we know that we needed to cover coming into this budget cycle of $150 million. In order to help balance this budget, we knew that we would have to put in some work to reduce our base budget in order to absorb these, in order to help close the budget gap. We identified reductions of around $148 million, and this provides a high-level summary of where those reductions came from. As I stated earlier, we spent quite a bit of time at last week's session, and I encourage those who were not able to join us to go back and watch the videos where we spent time talking about academics, facilities and operations, as well as school support and leadership, which really focus on the student support and services buckets that you see here. Tonight, we're going to spend time talking about information technology, so this $6.1 million that you see here, and then the Division of Accountability and Human Resources, they are included in the operational and central efficiencies, which you see outlined here. In addition to what we had to adjust in our budget in terms of reductions for 2027, we have these planned accelerants, which we've been discussing throughout the budgeting process, of around $35 million across these various categories: special education, safety and security, professional development, AI literacy, and math and reading. In addition to the accelerants of 35 million, we also have just the cost of continuing with our existing operations. There's an annual impact associated with maintaining those operations every single year. That includes our investments that we need to maintain our buses, investing in our technology for students and staff, primarily laptops and Chromebooks. We also have the impact of our textbooks as well. In addition to that, we make additional investments to support our schools. That's $3.8 million. And then we have the impact of this cost going up. That includes maintenance of our software, which has annual cost escalations associated with it, higher costs for utilities as well. So all in, those additional impacts of just maintaining our existing services are around $23 million. So with that being said, we will now transition over to the first division, which I believe is a division of accountability.
Board Member McCann, would you like me to do the introduction or no?
Yes, please. That's
Okay, thank you. So we will hear from our Division of Accountability. As we all know, accountability plays a role in district operations by establishing and monitoring the progress in the strategic goals that are in our strategic plan. They do a lot around secure both competitive and formula grants to support our goals. They generate data to assess the level of achievement towards reaching those goals, and then ensuring compliance and transparency with reporting. This upcoming fiscal year, in particular, will be challenging for the division because of just greater data and reporting demands, which are really important to support the district's priorities and to make sure we have what you'll hear us all say, return on the investments. We're also developing a new strategic plan, which will be closely aligned to our district's blueprint plan, all of which accomplished with fewer resources. And you'll hear the division talk about a proposed reduction to its annual budget. The Division of Accountability has attempted to maximize its core budget efficiencies by leveraging the reorganization of the Strategic Initiatives Office into the Strategic Office, and also leading several contractual obligations and consolidating resources wherever possible. So now Dr. Strader will lead us through the details of his division's budget. Dr. Strader.
All right, good evening, everyone. Am I sharing my screen, or is someone else looking for me? Share.
Mr. Strader, Dr. Strader, you should share your screen.
Okay, I will share. All right, can someone confirm that you are now seeing the presentation?
yes, sir. We can see it.
All right, thank you. So thank you everyone for the opportunity to share our budget for this upcoming year. Let's start my timer. All right, very good. So I will jump right into this. When you look at our division, our goals and drivers, I'll just start with what's included here. The mission of the Division of Accountability is to provide and manage, support, and support transparent accountability measures for Prince George's County Public Schools that will lead to students prepared for college and career readiness. We have three primary goals that we stand behind. Align transparent and reporting accountability measures for Prince George's County Public Schools that will lead to schools and students understanding and the adoption of the strategic plan and the Maryland Blueprint. Goal number 2 is to implement national, state, and district policy to ensure equitable access to instructional programs and opportunities. And goal number 3 is to ensure families and students access to timely enrollment and registration. We support and facilitate the strategic boundaries and facility planning in collaboration with our operations office, as well as manage our student records. We have 3 primary core services in addition to our goals. Number 1, to support student achievement by providing testing, research, program evaluation services, actionable data, and excellent committed support to schools and our community, offering transparency in particular. Core service 2, identify, secure, and manage external grant funding resources that includes both federal and state, both competitive and formulaic grants. And core service number 3, manage performance by implementing Prince George's County Public Schools Accountability Program. When you get into our budget plan, there is a lot here. The Division of Accountability has 5 departments, which I'll go into greater detail here momentarily, that are very diverse. So we attempted to pull together a statement that is inclusive of all. So I'm going to read this. It's very loaded, but again, it is comprehensive in nature. So the Division of Accountability budget plan is designed to support the work of culture transformation, equitable resource acquisition, allocation and retention, and data-informed decision-making at all levels within the district. We're here to support innovation, change management, continuous learning, knowledge application, routine monitoring and evaluation, effective risk management, and routine reflection for continuous improvement, cultivating an empowered workforce and strengthening the district's capacity to adopt as the environment and priorities change. Very loaded, but again, it's very comprehensive for what we do. So let's take a closer look at the Division of Accountability. The division currently is made up of 5 departments, and I am actually joined this evening by our 5 directors representing these departments, and I'll give you a quick overview of these. We begin with the Department of Title I. They manage all 107 of our Title I schools, supporting them with the Title I grants, the federally restricted grant funds. They work through the compliance measures for that, as well as offer them instructional support and everything else that that grant allows for. The second department is the Monitoring and Accountability Department. They have 2 primary departments, I should say sections within that department. Within the Monitoring and Accountability, what's titled Monitoring and Accountability here, that section focuses on supporting schools with their school improvement processes. In particular, they support schools with their school improvement planning processes. The other section here, the Accountability Data Management Office, this office provides support in all of our state data reporting. They offer all of that data quality checks for any external data that we are providing to any of our stakeholders. And they manage many of our ad hoc data requests that come in from various stakeholders seeking information. The third department to highlight is our Student Enrollment Services. That has 3 sections, contains 3 sections. The Pupil Accounting section, they focus primarily on that registration and enrollment processes of our parents first engaging our district. The second section is the School Boundaries. This office maintains our school boundaries and any type of redistricting efforts, large or small scale. The third section is the Student Records Office. This office is very familiar to most, especially students that are graduating, seeking their transcripts, and anyone that's moving within the district or outside of the district requesting their student records. The third department is the Department of Strategic Planning and Resource Management. It has 3 sections now. First is the Strategic Planning section. You may be familiar with the Transformation 2026 Strategic Plan. That section is responsible for the development and maintaining and monitoring of that plan. That also includes the dashboards that share our progress in meeting our critical success indicators, or CSIs or KPIs. They also, the second section here is the Grant Resource Management Team. They monitor the acquisition of all competitive as well as formulaic grants that flow through this district. That includes grants such as our title grants. That formal application process flows through this office, as well as many of the other competitive grants. And last but not least, this is the newest section to join this office. This is the Blueprint Initiatives Office. Formerly known as the Strategic Initiatives Office, we are collapsing what was formerly its own department into this department for efficiency purposes. I'll talk a bit more about that in detail in just a moment. And last but not least is the Testing, Research, and Evaluation Office. That office is responsible for maintaining over the 1 million assessments administered every year at both the federal, state, and local levels. They also manage the reporting of all of those assessments, supporting all of our stakeholders, including our schools, our parents, any outside entity that is engaging in our assessment-related data. And last but not least, within DTRE, Testing, Research, and Evaluation, is that Evaluation Office. A formal evaluation office, they conduct many different evaluations and research for the district, supporting in the return on investment initiatives that we have across many of our cost centers, as well as support other research activities like understanding the benefits of our summer school programs, understanding the benefits of our National Board Certified Teachers and teacher placements. They have many different activities that they engage in throughout the year. So that is the 5 departments that make up this division. Let's take a closer look now at the staffing. So when you're talking about the Division of Accountability, you're talking about a team of 109 staff members strong. I wish to emphasize on the second level there, you'll see that ESSA and Title I. The reason why you see the staffing split out in such a way is because for budget purposes, we're talking about generally two different funding sources, our general funds, as well as our restricted or / grant funds. Within that Title I office, there's actually 2 staff members, the director and their assistant, that's funded with the general funds. And they have 23 supporting staff members that are actually funded through the grant. This often becomes a question, and that's why I chose to parse those positions out in such a way. So the division is 109 members strong. Now let's start getting into the nuts and bolts of what we've done with our budget for this upcoming year. As was shared in the introduction, there are several initiatives that accountability is taking on for this upcoming school year. We have to develop a new strategic plan. We're in the process of working through those details, as well as we have to update our blueprint plan. Both very labor intensive and requires a lot of stakeholder engagement. There's several other initiatives that accountability has taken on, including return on investment analytics and looking at trying to provide better support in the decision-making of the different cost expenditures we have. This is all in addition to the greater need for data. A lot more folks are trying to make more informed decisions, database decisions. So there's many, many requests of this office. So when we were looking for cuts, we basically have 2 pools of money within this division. The first pool is for the staff. The staff make up the majority of the budget for this division. But the second major category are contracted services. There's not much in between. So when we look for reductions, we really have to look in those 2 primary coffers to see what it is that we can do. But we were, this upcoming school year, able to reduce the budget by $1.7 million. And how did we do that? Programmatic changes. We collapsed the Strategic Initiatives Office into the Strategic Planning Office. This allowed us to combine the resources of those 2 departments to help us overcome those obstacles in dealing with the new strategic plan as well as the blueprint plan. We've eliminated several contracted services, which I've included here for your review. We were able to collapse and look for efficiencies and reductions in scope of work. As an example, we had a major grant that was through the Strategic Initiatives Office that we could leverage community school funds for. It was a similar scope of work, so we're able to move that work over to the community schools. Eliminated some other key contracts that were in place that may impact our operations in years out, but for this upcoming year, we're looking pretty good. So these were the major reductions that we have. within a division. Again, total up to will be about 1.7 million. Being sensitive to my time, so I also wanted to show the yin yang of this upcoming school year. So although we were able to look to reduce our budget by 1.7 million, there is some cost of doing business enhancements that are going to kick in for this upcoming year. So I just wanted to identify these. The support of the student growth measure reporting element that we have for this year has some cost associated with it, as well as our need, excuse me, to share the district school performance dashboards. This is a board policy to maintain the dashboards for the district as we're transitioning to a new strategic plan and an updated blueprint plan to maximize that transparency to our stakeholders. We have considerable revisions that we need to do to our dashboards that have costs associated with that. And last but not least, we have down below, which is going to be covered by the student growth dashboards. We want to make sure that all of our constituents are understanding where our students are in the continuum of growth, and we're making all of this available to our parents and to our stakeholders to get a better understanding of where our students are compared to their peers within the district as well as outside of the district. So these are the major initiatives within the Division of Accountability in both reductions and enhancements moving into this upcoming year. And again, I am joined by my 5 directors. We're here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Strader. Board members, do we have any questions? Board Member Boozer Strother?
Hi, thank you so much, and thank you, Chief Howell and Dr. Strader, for the opening presentations. I'm going to go back to Chief Howell for a moment. When you did the overview of the funding sources and looking at budget, the budget book, page 25, that breaks that down, that about 95% of the funding sources come from the state and county. Can you talk about like how and when you understood we'd have $150 million budget gap, like how that's communicated and why? Because we are actually quite early in a budget process for the county and the state. The county executive hasn't proposed a budget yet. The county council hasn't voted on the budget. The state delegation is still in session. So we are not at the end of a cycle of when PGCPS could receive final information on budget. We have time to bring that impact to our legislator. So what I would like for you to explain is how you knew we would have $150 million gap.
Thank you for that question. So it's twofold. When we are starting any budgeting process, we want to at least look at a bare minimum, the costs that we must be able to cover on an annual basis. And so we will do some early projections around what that looks like tied to the negotiated agreements that we have executed. We'll make some assumptions about those that are not settled yet. And then we'll run some modeling based off of the employee base that exists at the time that we actually do the model. So this was in the fall. We do it several points throughout the year, but at the time we were working on this, it was based off of what we had on hand in the fall. So that helps us to quantify that number. We knew that we had to also add back to our budget the contribution that's required for our retirees for 2027. So we knew that number as well. And then we also make some high level assumptions around some of the other annual costs that we expect to see. So initially, that's how we came up with that $150 million target, that at a minimum, we have to make sure that we have enough to cover this. Once you kind of have that as your target of what you have to be able to cover, we then ran some high level modeling on our revenue projections. So it's all based off of assumptions at that point. But we make some assumptions around our enrollment trends, and we know what the PPAs are, the per pupil amounts, because they're outlined in legislation. So we can run some modeling on the revenue calculation. So doing those two pieces, we could do the math to see this is what we expected to have come in. versus being able to kind of cover the bare minimum and realize that we would have that preliminary gap of $150 million.
Thank you.
Chief Powell. I believe the question, and Board Member Buder Struthers, correct me if I'm wrong. The question is specifically around like where did those numbers come from? So you have all of that modeling that you did, and then how do we know that we need to come down 150 million? Like where did those two numbers come from? Like who told you this is the amount of money that you have?
Thank you, Board Member Goins McCants. Yeah, I think what I'm getting at is there a communication from the state, from the county early on that provides you with an estimate number? Like that those calculations have already been done by the state, by the county. You have outlined how state law generally gets to that number.
Yeah, so we don't know early in the fall what we expect the contribution to be from the state and county. So when we do our modeling, we're looking at the Blueprint program funding in aggregate because we know it's a shared component associated with that. So we just modeled the revenue in total by Blueprint program, not worried about where it was coming from, but just in total. So that is how we were able to come up with the total revenue projections for the district is based off of that component of it. So, and then in addition to identifying the bare minimum cost that we have to cover, we also know we have our current base budget. So you start with your current budget for 26, and then you sort of add to it these additional items that would be on top of what you have in your current budget, which is 150 million that I just outlined with compensation, OPEB, et cetera. And that's how you get to your total expected costs. So that's how we do that revenue modeling. We do it in total for all the Blueprint program funding. When we fast forward to December, now we have wealth data that becomes available, and we can then refine our assumption to figure out of that Blueprint funding source, how much is going to be the state share and how much is going to be the county share. But in October, we don't have it yet. We model it at the aggregate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Howell. Dr. Moss?
Chief Howell, thank you so much for explaining this process a bit more. As much as I complained last year when I first got here, I've got to tell you, I finally get it now, that this budgeting process is an iterative process and the table is always moving from December all the way to June. And we just can't say that enough. I also want to, before I ask my real question, I want to thank Chief Strader as well. Last year when I first got here, I had a budget amendment to merge the strategy offices because I couldn't figure out how we had two offices with strategy. So I appreciate the work you've done there to bring some efficiency on that side. And I also just want to say to the general public that's listening, we've not yet made it to our office, which there are some things that will happen in the future around that. I think that happens at the meeting on the 19th. So just as much as we're cutting other spaces, the board, it looks at its own work too. I don't want that assumption to be out there. But Ms. Howell, what I'd like for you to do for me is, I've gotten lots of phone calls and lots of emails around why do we have to cut certain programs. Can you tell us what we cannot pay for with Blueprint dollars, and why some of these programs and how when Blueprint doesn't cover an item, we have to go into our general fund to be able to cover that, and how if there's no dollars left in reserve because we're not able to roll dollars into that, it goes into, our operating dollars. So can you talk about kind of how that works when there's no direct weight for it in the Blueprint allocation, how we go over into operating expenses to be able to cover some of these things? I think it would be helpful for the public to hear that, which is kind of contributing to some of this 150 million, because you don't just have it sitting over in operating dollars. And if I said something wrong, I'm hoping you'll clarify it, but that's the way I see it.
Thank you for that question. And it is a bit confusing to sort of understand our budget in its entirety. So when you think about our budget, there is a portion that's covered that relates to sort of general operating, which means those resources are unrestricted. And then there's those that are restricted. And for Blueprint, the funding covers both buckets. Some of it is restricted and some of it is unrestricted. The biggest component of which is restricted relates to the community schools funding. And that is a substantial amount of funding that does come into the district, but it is restricted in use. And so that is something that we have to be very mindful of when it comes to what we're going to pay for. On the unrestricted side, the funding is tied to specific Blueprint programs, and the legislation does outline that the funding needs to follow the student to the school. So even with the funding that comes into the district, and I want to be clear, on the unrestricted side, 95% of our funding is tied to Blueprint. So we don't have a lot of other non-Blueprint funding sources. So that is the majority, the lion's share of our unrestricted dollars that come in. And so we have flexibility in how those dollars are utilized on the unrestricted side, but we have to still make sure that the funding is primarily supporting our schools, and the costs are attributed to the intent of those dollars. And so, for example, if it's special education funding that comes into the district, we need to use it for special education. So that's just kind of a general example. Probably the two other big buckets of revenue that we receive that is unrestricted is transportation. And we also receive funding for, it's called a transition grant, has the word grant in it, but it is unrestricted and it's tied to the Blueprint. So we have some flexibility with that as well, but even the transportation funding that we get is not enough to cover all full transportation costs. So out of all the other Blueprint programs, foundation, compensatory education, ML, et cetera, we're having to cover all of the expenses for the district, those that support schools, and the portion that would cover just the general overall operations of the district as a whole. So I know I'm limited on time, but I'm going to pause there to see if that helped to answer or provide you some clarity around your question.
5 seconds if the chair will give it to me.
5 seconds.
So the short question is, things like our specialty programs, are they funded with Blueprint dollars?
Yes, the Blueprint dollars has to cover everything on the unrestricted side.
Thank you so much, Chief Howell. Board Member Olivo?
Thank you so much, Board Member Goins-McCants. This question actually is going back to Dr. Strader. I wondered if you could share a little bit more about our work in going after grants. I was in a meeting last night and some members of the public were asking, do we turn over every stone looking for grants that could be applicable and help us with funding needs in the system? And I wondered if you could just share a little bit more about that, please.
I can. I'll begin the response and then I'll turn it over to our director, Vanessa Weatherington, that oversees that office. But it's a two-pronged approach. We stand up our staff and constituents to seek their own grants, and we do a lot of work providing that professional development to them to seek their own dollars. And however, we also go after what is made or shared with us as potential opportunities. So I'll tee that up and I'll turn it over to Director Weatherington to chime in. Vanessa?
Absolutely. Yes. So we do go out and look for competitive grants. Many of the grants that we apply for come from the state. There are quite a few that are federally funded grants, but as you know, the federal landscape, it's ever changing. And so wherever possible, we work with program directly to identify grants that align with their programs. Whether it is federal or state, but we also want to be mindful of the bandwidth and capacity of staff to implement said grants. What we don't want to do is go after grants for things that are already funded, and ultimately we are returning money to the federal government. So we support all teams in the district with looking for grants. We also identify other grants and share them with teams, just to see if they can, use the money, if they have the bandwidth on their teams to ultimately spend down and provide those services.
Director Weatherington, can you share what was the dollar amount that we went after last year?
I believe it was 125 million is the amount of grants that we went after last year. That includes our competitive grants, some of our formula grants, title grants.
Yep.
So we've gone after quite a few. Ultimately, some were canceled by the federal government, so we were not ultimately able to see it through, but we still went after quite a large dollar amount.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I just wanted to provide that scope for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Vice Chair Briggs.
Thank you so much, Committee Chair Goins McCants. My question is for Chief Howell, but I do want to say thank you to Dr. Strader for the presentation. It was really thorough and clear. So I didn't have questions about it. But Ms. Howell, I did have a question about the telecommunications revenue bill that's been named a few times throughout this process. I know that you, along with our interim superintendent, has kind of discussed how that pool of money or that funding stream at some point has been minimized to some extent because of a recent bill in the General Assembly. And one of the things that I wasn't clear on that I was hoping you could clarify is one of the words that was used was that the county council was able to supplement the telecommunications funding for the required blueprint minimum requirement. What I wasn't clear on was once that became that telecommunications revenue became applicable to the minimum for the blueprint funding, is the clarification or the distinction when you all say supplement? I guess in my mind, I was thinking that they were using the telecommunications money instead of giving money. So were they giving us the telecommunications money for the blueprint in addition to other money, or what has changed specifically?
Yeah, thank you for that clarifying question. The energy and telecommunications revenue that we received prior to Blueprint was above and beyond whatever we were getting in state aid funding. Once Blueprint was implemented, and even for the first couple of years, 22 and 23, we were receiving what was required and mandated in Blueprint, as well as the energy and telecommunications revenue on top of that. The energy and telecom revenue beginning in 24 is when the law passed or the bill changed that resulted in that being a funding source, one of many funding sources that goes towards the county contribution for PGCPS. Their funding sources includes property taxes, income taxes, recordation taxes, and then now energy and telecommunications taxes. And it may have already been a component of it in the past, but they have now increased, or they're utilizing more of those funds to meet the minimum required for Blueprint. So in 24, when that new bill and that new law passed, they now were no longer providing an additional amount above and beyond the minimum. It is now one of the funding sources to meet the minimum requirement.
And then just lastly, if you have it right now, like what's the dollar amount? So what we were getting versus what we're getting now?
The energy and telecom amount that we were getting, it varied from year to year. It fluctuated 30, 35 million. I think it got up to 50 million one year. And I think the year that it was projected to end, it was going to go up even more. But I would say between 35 and 50 million, depending on the fiscal year. It varied by, it just depended on how much revenue they had coming in.
And then can I ask one last question, Chair Goins McCants, really quick?
We are going to second round, so if we can restart the timer and then you can ask your question of the second round question.
Okay, great. I just had really quickly, so this was the other piece, Chief Howell, was that for the contribution amount for Blueprint, so there's the county and there's a state contribution. I know that the state amount you all named was going up, but the county amount was going down. Can you just clarify that rationale why?
Yes. So now that the governor's budget has been released and we have the state aid document, we can sort of verify our assumptions based off of the wealth data that we received in December. Because the wealth for the county grew at a slower pace than the wealth for the state, then that means that the contribution now required between the state and county is shifting. The state now is going to be contributing a greater percentage than the county had been previously contributing the year before. So in 26 versus the proposed budget for 27, that shift is taking place. So the amount of the county contribution now is actually going down in terms of a percentage relative to what it was previously, and the state will be picking up a bigger portion of those costs.
Okay, so this isn't about values. It's not about does the state care or does the county care. This is a matter of like there's a base amount percentage wise that needs to be given, and whoever has more revenue coming in, that's going to be adjusted based on some algorithm to ensure that we're getting the adequate amount of funding.
Every jurisdiction in the state of Maryland follows the same funding formula, and it is wealth equalized. So the wealthier counties have to contribute more, and those that are less wealthy contribute less. And they're all following what's required by law, and it's driven by those wealth equalized percentages.
Okay, thank you so much.
Board members, do we have any additional questions for the Division of Accountability? Seeing no hands. Thanks so much, Dr. Strader and your team, as well as Chief Howell, for answering our questions. At this point, the committee chair recognizes Dr. Collins for the Division of Human Resources budget presentation.
Thank you. The next budget discussion is from Division of Human Resources, which is a $1.4 million in reductions. Reductions are primarily from discretionary spending, which is designed to limit the operational impact our human resources, also known as HR functions. Human resources is responsible for human capital. So all of the strategies that help us to we have the best staff to meet our district's goals. As you all know, hiring quality candidates is really, really important, and we need to do it more efficiently and quickly. We've had some wins for HR area this year, reducing the number of driver vacancies to 60. That's the lowest in 5 years. Our district was recognized by Governor Wes Moore and State Superintendent Dr. Wright for decreasing teacher vacancies by over 50%. Again, that was the lowest reduction of all the local education agencies in the state. And we will also recognize we've accelerated the hiring process for all positions for this coming school year. In addition to the hiring attention and focus we've had, we're also focusing on professional learning. As you've heard our interim superintendent, we provide aligned and coherent job and professional learning, looking at all of our staff and what the needs are. We have not finalized or developed a model of what our systemic improvement model will look like, but we are in sort of mode of sort of figuring out what currently exists. What do we lean into and continue? What do we need to pull back on? And it's critical that we hire a really strong and committed associate superintendent that could work across offices to bring coherence and help us to implement a systematic model that has the voices of all of our stakeholders. So at the time, I will turn it over to Dr. Edwards to lead the presentation for the Division of Human Resources.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Good evening, Vice Chair Briggs, Committee Chair Goins-McCants, and all of our board members. As Dr. Collins shared, I am Dana Edwards, and it's my pleasure to serve as our district's Chief Human Resources Officer. And tonight I'll share with you the division's FY27 recommended budget. Human resources equals people, where they work, what they do, how they work, and their lived experiences every day when they're at the work sites. Our 22,000 employees equal really how our district's vision comes alive with the work they do daily, and that gives us the growth and the results of student learning, and their experiences equal our organizational culture. I want to share with you a little bit about the different offices that are under the umbrella of the division. Each one of these offices speaks to kind of where our employees enter, how they grow while they're here, and then how we make sure that they're growing roots within our district and we take care of them. Our talent acquisition and management office focuses on those touch points of when someone has the interest of working in Prince George's County Public Schools. It's our recruitment, our hiring that we focus on here. We do substitutes and temporary staffing within this particular office, as well as the certification and licensure that our staff need. While our staff are here, it's very important that as we hire them, we recruit them, we also need to be able to provide them feedback about their performance and really focus on that through our Office of Employee Performance. In our Office of Employee Performance, for our teachers, we use the framework for teaching and learning, and we really use that as the grounding of when we are providing feedback and doing observations within the classroom. We use that as that framework, but we have a performance management system for all levels of our employees within the district that really provides information in terms of how you are doing with the work that you have been assigned to, if there's coaching that needs to be provided, and then really creating a cycle of improvement to help people either maintain their performance and or get better. Our Office of Professional Learning and Leadership really focuses on pipeline work when we think about school leadership opportunities as well as our teaching opportunities.
Hi, Dr. Edwards. I'm going to stop you for a little bit. I don't think we're seeing your presentation.
I just saw it on the screen, but definitely will try it again. How do we see now? Are we good to go?
Okay, we can see it now.
No
Yeah.
worries.
I
Thank you.
think we can see it. I think it just wasn't moving if you were moving slides.
Nope, it was still on this slide, but I appreciate you guys. Okay, I'm gonna start up. I'm not gonna start over. I'm gonna pick up where I left off. So in our Office of Professional Learning and Leadership, they really focus on the space of really looking at our new teacher induction support, which is extremely important within our district. Research states that 3 years is really the space of when induction takes place. And so they take time to really make sure that our new teachers are receiving the support that they need to be able to really try to make them stay here within our district. We are very proud here in Prince George's County Public Schools that we have 633 educators who hold National Board certification, and we have 914 who are currently pursuing that. This work takes place in the Office of Professional Learning and Leadership, really kind of doing case management and supporting those educators through that. We want to maintain our status of being #1 in the state with the most diverse MBCT cadre, and this only happens when we really think about doing that work systemically. Our final area in the Division of Human Resources is employee and labor relations. And it's important within that when we think about the relational component of not only creating those contracts that we have with our labor union partners, but ensuring that we're doing some real good, authentic collaboration, working collectively and collaboratively with them as we think about the experiences that employees have and limiting variance across work sites. Included in this office also would be our fingerprinting and background unit that every employee within our district must go through, as well as our volunteers with fingerprinting. And they also maintain our employee records and verification. So those are the different areas within the Division of Human Resources. Each one of those aligns with the employee life cycle in terms of how they enter into the district, where they have these experiences, and definitely taking time to grow talent and making sure that people have what they need as they move on. On the next slide, just to give you an overview of now that you know about the work that we do, we have 178 members within staff members within the Division of Human Resources. Within my office, there are 3, including myself. One of those staff members actually focuses on a new initiative that came forward this year of new employee induction. And so every employee who is new to the district, or if they are starting a new position in changing unions, goes through almost an introductory or an induction program to be able to kind of level set. And so everyone comes in and hears that information. We have 73 members who actually do the hiring, the support of staff as they're coming in the district, 8 members in the Office of Employee Performance, 68 in professional learning and leadership, and 26 in labor relations. These numbers are important because as I go over the individual divisions budget, you will see and hear the focus will be on the discretionary reductions and not necessarily reductions in terms of personnel. On the next slide, I'd like to just talk about our mission. As you can see on the left, and the core services that we provide to make sure that we recruit, develop, and retain a high quality and diverse workforce to ensure educational excellence. Quality recruitment and staffing services is critical, and making sure that we're in the right places and spaces to bring in the top tier talent. We want to offer a robust offering of professional learning opportunities. We've talked as a district over the past couple of months in terms of really aligning our resources to create a coherent model that will continue to give us the results that we need, but also the support of our staff so that we can use it as a retention effort. And then finally, positive labor and management relationships to be able to support our employees within the district. Our next slide. What you will hear are key highlights. Again, I've shared that this budget focuses on coherence and efficiency. There's a $1.4 million savings that was achieved. And then for key highlights 3, 4, and 5, they do focus on professional learning, looking at the coming year. Establishing an Office of Organizational Development that will focus on not only the organizational culture, but also looking at building out the systemic job embedded professional learning across the district, being able to support the needs of our staff, which in essence will also support the needs of our students. An associate superintendent to be hired within this fiscal year, FY26, to adequately prepare and do the necessary collaboration needed within all of our divisions and also with our labor associations. And there is a request for a $1.1 million accelerant to be able to use for the inaugural year of OOD. And Dr. Joseph has shared that within the recent budget discussions. Next slide. We had a $1.4 million target. The bulk of that was achieved through $858,000 through discretionary spending, and then $586 with reductions of 6.0 FTEs. Next. Within the Office of the Chief Human Resources Officer, the total proposed reduction was approximately $92,000, 282. We focused on discretionary reductions with catering services and meeting expenses, reducing non-local travel. This is in alignment with other divisions and what we've done as a system, and really looking at dues reductions and contracted services. The implications of being able to approach how and being more strategic with our professional membership, not from an individual standpoint, but looking at group memberships, which sometimes are often cheaper. And then we've had some audits done by Urban Schools Human Capital Academy in the past. And in reducing those contracted services, it's important to note that we have to focus on integrating the recommendations and best practices versus working directly with the company and spending more with those contracted services. Next slide. In our Employee Labor Relations Office, reductions were made for $202,000 that focused on reduction in office furniture, again, contracted services. And in a seat of transparency, I do want to share within the budget book, there is a 1.0 FTE reduction of an identification management clerk. That position is currently filled. However, in going back and reviewing the operations of the office, there are only 2 people who do that work. They're responsible for taking the ID badges for every single employee within the district. And that is a safety measure that we do here in Prince George's Public Schools.
Give me 1 second, Dr. Edwards. Ms. McMillan, can you reset the timer for 3 additional minutes, please? And you continue, Dr. Edwards.
Thank you. Reducing this by 1 to 1 person is just not operationally sound. So I will be reinstating this position, but for the about $50,000 that's associated with it, I will balance that out by making a $50,000 reduction from my budget for my office. Next slide. Office of Employee Performance, there was approximately $73,000 that was reduced from this office. Again, the focus on catering service and office supplies and contracted services. There are no implications here that we can see at the moment, but we will continue to monitor this space should there be in order for us to course correct. Our Office of Talent Acquisition and Management, again, as a reminder, this is the space that does our recruitment and hiring and credentialing of staff. The reduction here was $484,000, 822. A focus on temporary staff and supplies and associated funding with workshops. The continued focus is on recruitment. There was no reduction made there, and there were no reductions made in FTEs to make sure that we're focusing on recruitment, selection, and hiring best practices. And finally, our Office of Professional Learning and Leadership, there was a $541,000 reduction focused on workshop costs. There are 9 vacant induction coach positions. This is a reduction of 5 FTEs that are all vacant here, which leaves us 4. The focus here in terms of the implications for this particular space is to really examine our roles, to look at how we kind of broaden our approach to coaching and really design a systemic and aligned approach for job-embedded professional learning. And as Dr. Collins shared, we do need the support of the incoming position that we've identified, but we also need to take time to continue to authentically collaborate and design that work. And then finally, I could not end this without sharing, we are hiring. And so the link is here as well as the QR code. This is our talent and acquisition portion of our talent and acquisition team who does a lot of the hiring. We are hiring, we are hiring, we are hiring. And at this point, I turn it over to you, Committee Chair McCants, for any questions that the board may have at this time. Dr. Magruder, you can go for questions. Thank you.
Board members, do we have any questions? Board Member Olivo?
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Dr. Edwards, for this really strong presentation. It was a real pleasure to stand with you and Chair Jackson and others at the County Executives Press Conference, really sharing how dramatically we've reduced our teacher vacancies, which is really exciting. I wondered if you could just talk for a moment about specific recruitment for bilingual, especially Spanish bilingual teachers as well as staff.
Thank you for the question, and it was a pleasure to stand with you as well. I would like to have my Director of Talent Acquisition and Management to be able to support a lot of the details there. The one thing I'll say as Dr. Malone comes off of mute is that as we do our recruitment this year, we definitely know that that is a space that we do want to increase staff who are bilingual here within our district to be able to create the level of comfort many of our families and students need. We do have some specific areas I'd like for her to be able to highlight at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards, and good evening, everyone. So some of our recruiting efforts around increasing our bilingual workforce, we actually do a targeted bilingual hiring event at Sonia Sotomayor Middle School. We do that each year where we open it up and we hire for teachers, substitutes, custodians, security, paraprofessionals, dedicated aides, a lot of the clerical support positions. We also have increased our presence by returning to Puerto Rico. We've brought that back where we go out. We actually have recruiters leaving this Saturday where they will be going to Puerto Rico to actually hopefully provide some early contracts to those who are interested in coming to be a part of our workforce. In addition to that, we have started making connections with different Hispanic institutions and conferences so that we can be a part of that and increase our recruiting there as well.
Thank you, Dr. Malone. One
Thank you so much.
I'd just like to share is we recently received a grant that gave us an opportunity to be able to provide, as we think about going to Puerto Rico, relocation costs for incoming staff who are out of state as well. So that will be a benefit for us in this process too.
That's great. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it.
Board members, do we have any additional questions for first round? I have one. Can you speak to when you ran through all of your cuts in different subsections, can you speak to how, if at all, any of those cuts will impact recruitment efforts broadly?
So they won't. And that was one critical component. If we go back and look at talent acquisition management, it was important that we reserve those funds and really have almost a safety net around them. We have a fantastic recruitment team with a great vision. They're doing some different things. And because of the fact that we hire anywhere between 800 to 1,000 new teachers every year, we have to be on the forefront. We have 113 recruitment and hiring activities for this coming year. So we didn't want to touch any of that. And looking backwards in terms of what was helpful for that team to be able to really reduce those vacancies. Some of it was organizational just structures we put in place. In addition to that, it was just the recruitment. So none of this will impact recruitment in any way. And that was a critical safeguard we wanted to put in place.
And then with that, a lot of the things that seem to be cut from that budget seem to be maybe like they were on the retention side. So how are we addressing some of those cuts to ensure that we are retaining the talent that you all have done such a wonderful job recruiting, at least from how your office was formally doing that work?
No worries. Thank you for that question. So, when we think about retention, that has to be a cornerstone of our work. While we do fantastic with recruitment, it's not really sustainable to do that high level every year. And that really is a bedrock retention of organizational culture. So a couple key things that will be critical that we've talked about as a district in terms of really looking at the professional learning opportunities and using the space of the Office of Organizational Development to really ground into kind of formulating the employee experience. A component of that is really looking at what does employee induction look like? How are we really cultivating and offering safe spaces and affinity groups for people to really come, be their authentic self, really kind of build networks and stay here and see themselves here within our district. In addition to that, I would also say really, again, focusing on just building those opportunities and working with our labor partners, because when there is a healthy relationship there, our staff feel as though that we're taking care of them together versus separately. So the reductions will not impact, but we'll be looking more systemically to align for coherence. And I know my time is up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. Dr. Moss?
Dr. Edwards, thank you for your steady hand at this work. I want you to take an opportunity to clarify for the public how you've kind of reduced these large vacancies. There's some tension out there that perhaps we really didn't reduce the vacancies. We just moved them around, or we hired people that were less qualified, and that our children, don't necessarily deserve these less qualified folks. So I'd love for you to talk about your theory of change around making sure every kid has access to an excellent, effective teacher, and the way that you've done that in the reductions. And then secondly, you've proposed a $1.1 million accelerant. If that is not funded with this Office of Organizational Development, like what kinds of impacts will that have on the system if we're not able to do that this year? If the board says, Dr. Edwards, we just don't want to do that this year, right? That's just too much. What would we lose by not doing that? So one, clarify for the public what your theory of change has been with respect to making sure every kid has access to a great and effective teacher and where we are with that. And then what do we stand to lose if we don't approve the accelerant?
Thank you, Dr. Moss, for 2 questions in a minute and a half. So the one thing I know, being a former conditional teacher, a middle school principal, and the work that I've done in operations as well as instruction, we have to have a qualified teacher in every room to be able to do the work that's needed to instruct. But it's twins, teaching and learning, and we need the learning to be in place. The work that the team did last year, I want to celebrate. The reduction is real. We don't have fake numbers here in terms of what was done. And that was done from being fully staffed in the human resources space, to be able to do that, having the leadership in place, and really working collaboratively with our schools office and really kind of hiring quality candidates. For this year, the theory of change is we need to maintain the things that we have done. However, we have to do it earlier and we have to do it quicker. We are offering early contracts to qualified teachers to know that you work for Prince George's County Public Schools. We have to be ahead of our other districts, and we have to market ourselves from a place that this is a place where you can come and grow. We've done a great job of that as a system, and people have to see themselves in it. And our customer service has to be top notch. We have to get back to people and we have to let them know we want them to be here. So really earlier hiring is one component, and then being present and communicating effectively.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. Board members, do we have any more questions for first round? Seeing none, move to board member Olivo for second round. You're
Thank you, Chair
muted.
Goins McCants. Thank you. Dr. Edwards, you actually kind of started to answer this a little bit with Dr. Moss's question, but I wanted to say one of the, in addition to, filling so many vacancies, one of the things that I was really impressed with was in filling those vacancies was our work, what seemed to me a lot of attention to potentially promoting from within. So, are you working in this area? Come consider being a bus driver, for example, if that might be a higher wage or a better schedule or, something like that. And I wondered if, could you share a little bit more about that ongoing work and I guess give me a little bit of a reassurance that some of the cuts that you're looking at in your office won't stymie or slow down that sort of building from within that we've started to do with PGCPS.
We want to maintain, thank you for the question. We want to maintain almost like a grow your own, I think is the best way to look at it. MSDE has really provided, Maryland State Department of Education has provided and afforded us an opportunity. I want to thank Dr. Matthews and her team who are currently working to put together a grant for us to get additional funding from our State Board of Education to be able to do that if we are provided that opportunity. Focusing on our paraeducators, of course, because they're right there within the classroom. But then you bring up the component around how we really take other positions and feed into trying to fill vacancies for our bus operators and our bus attendants. And so these are spaces where we know that many of our employees may work part-time jobs, but we also have part-time jobs in the district. So our reductions do not take away our ability to do that. I think one of the pieces in terms of our Office of Professional Learning, our Office of Professional Leadership and Learning, they do work with our different employee groups around creating those opportunities. That work will not go away. I think what I want to give the assurance around is what we're trying to see is How do we tighten our alignment and our coherence around it, and possibly maybe reduce some duplicity that's there, and also being able to enhance those opportunities more so than anything else.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Board Member Brown, then we'll go to Dr. Moss.
Hi, everyone. I just had a quick question about the recruitment in Puerto Rico. Can you speak to that a little bit more and exactly what it's for? Because somebody who's here, it's like, well, we can't find anybody here. Can you kind of speak to the advantages of that, and why that is so important to recruit? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Board Member Brown. I'm going to ask Dr. Malone to be able to provide additional details. As she comes off of speaker, one piece for context. We're not the only district that does this, so it's a practice that many people find beneficial.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. The reason that we started going back to Puerto Rico, because what we find, one, there are not many individuals who are seeking degrees in order to teach Spanish within our schools. Spanish being one of the major content areas that students have been seeking to take. So by going to Puerto Rico, we know that we have a MOU with a company, and they actually have a selection of teachers who are fully certified, professionally certified, and that they are looking to come here and teach. So we actually go there, collaborate with them, offer early contracts, and then they come over. So the reason is just that there's a limited amount of people here available for us to actually consider having them teach Spanish.
Have you all seen a success rate when you recruit from Puerto Rico? Do you feel like, and then to Chair Goins McCants, what is the retention rate for those who are recruited from Puerto Rico? Do they actually stay and continue to teach Spanish? Are they able to be, do they get higher certifications when they come here? What does that look like?
So our retention rate has been really well. I could say out of the last couple of years, there may have only been 2 or 3 who actually returned, and they returned not because they didn't want to continue, they returned for other reasons. So our retention rate is really helpful, positive, I would say. We also get support from our partners in curriculum and instruction. They actually provide workshops and sessions to help strengthen anything from writing lesson plans to helping support students in classroom management. That helps with the retention.
Excellent. And I know Dr. Edwards mentioned that other districts do it. Does like Montgomery County do it? Anne Arundel? Who else does it besides us?
I can share that Montgomery County. Should I keep talking? Okay.
About 5 more seconds, please.
No worries. Montgomery County also visits Puerto Rico. The one thing I will share that is also of benefit, the schools in Puerto Rico are in a bilingual environment. And so the teachers are teaching through the lens of almost like they do Spanish and they do English. So they come with that particular skill that is of benefit for us as well.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. I'm asking these questions because obviously we've gotten an influx of immersion from families. And so I wanted people to kind of see also the importance of keeping those programs. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Moss?
Well, I've got to tell you, we are blessed in District 7 because of the Puerto Rico recruitment program. Principal Santiago is a direct reflection of PGCPS having a decades-long partnership in Puerto Rico to bring folks here. Our principal at Overlook actually came here as a teacher and has availed herself to the principalship. And those are the kinds of results we get from those kinds of programs. So To answer that question around retention, it seems to be strong that folks are onboarding into the principalship as a result of that program. So I just want to clarify the importance of that work for schools like Overlook that sits in District 7. We've benefited tremendously from that. I do want to come back to my original question, Dr. Edwards. Should we not give you the $1.1 million, what would we stand to lose? You got 2 minutes this time.
Oh man. Okay, no, just joking. Thank you. And I appreciate you coming back because I felt bad I couldn't get to it. If we don't receive the $1.1 million accelerant, and this is something that Dr. Joseph has been speaking of, I don't think that there will necessarily be a loss. If you notice, the request is not a very large request because, as we've shared, much of what we do focused on professional learning, what we do focused on support and coaching, and what we do regarding, cultivating the employee experience. We have FTEs within the district and we have funding within the district. It's just where it's situated. Without the build out, Dr. Moss, Board Member Moss, I can't really give those specifics. But what you do bring in mind for me to be really considerate of is to create a Model A, a Model B, and a Model C. If we receive the 1.1, if we don't receive the 1.1, and then if we receive a portion of it. So I appreciate just kind of pushing that thinking at this moment.
What was the vision for this office again, just for further clarification?
Absolutely. Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Edwards, would you like me to assist?
Sure.
Yeah. So one of the things that Dr. Joe and I have noted throughout our visits to the district around professional learning, the major question is the learning that we're providing being done quality and coherently, and in a way that is meeting the needs of each of our employees, from our operations team to our teacher team all across the district. The idea is for this professional learner to live in one office with one person that can have a laser light on systemic approach, a specific framework that we're looking at to provide professional learning. Dr. Zuckerman last week talked about AI. We need to have AI in it across all of our professional learning streams, no matter what. So we need to have an office that is looking systemically across every single division office in the district around what are we currently doing around professional learning, what is needed for our teachers, what are they saying, what do our leaders need in terms of building their capacity around our core areas, specifically in literacy and math mix. But some of the areas that Dr. Edwards mentioned, how are we retaining our teachers? And so it's a much more systemic approach. If we don't receive the funding, quite honestly, we're resilient, right? We're educators. We will be resilient and look at how we maximize what we have to be much more efficient and not wasteful in some ways that we have found. But we have seen variance in the classroom, and we need to account for that and to have an office that's specifically assigned to do that. I hope that answers Dr. Moss.
I know that's not an easy question to answer, so I appreciate it. You all taking a stab at that.
Thank you all so much. And if there are no more questions for the Division of Human Resources, thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. The committee chair recognizes Dr. Collins for the Division of Information Technology's budget presentation.
Thank you. And now we'll move to our final budget overview of the evening for the Division of Information Technology for their operating budget. Their budget includes roughly $5 million in reductions, primarily to consulting service, federal funded programs such as software and some positions. They're also trying to make sure they have a laser-like focus on the right infrastructure for the hardware and software that we have in our district to report teaching and learning, our business operations, to really drive innovation. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Zuckerman and his team presentation.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Collins, and good evening, board members. I feel like I've had a lot of time with the board lately, so I'll try to be brief. So our next slide, please. Our department, the Division of Technology, as I'm sure you know, our large focus is just continuing to advance our digital ecosystem that supports teaching and learning. We want to continue to modernize, and we continue to be efficient, as well as drive innovation. And so our budget plan, as Dr. Collins said, reflects continued advancements in our infrastructure, cybersecurity, modernizing our information systems, while at the same time pursuing efficiencies. Next slide, please. Just to highlight the division, we have 5 core areas. Our Department of Technology Integration and Support, led by Ms. Kim Robertson, who is here on the Zoom with us. We have our Department of Technology Operations, led by Central Miss Warren. This is our engineering, our internet, our database administrator, cybersecurity focus. We have our Department of Business Applications, that's led by Mr. Claude Charles. That's Oracle, largely. That's our business information system, so largely Oracle. And our Department of Student Applications, led by Jing Hong Gao, and that's really Synergy, formerly SchoolMaps, and we have developers and project managers and analysts there. And lastly, we also have our print shop and mail services team, which handles obviously the printing of the district, the movement of materials through the district. Next slide, please. So the key highlights that I just want to elevate, and we're getting into the discussion. We've been preparing for the sunsetting of the ESSER funds for several years now. We've been working to streamline just the different tools we have, and we're going to continue to do that. A couple of years ago, we eliminated some tools. Last year, we reduced another couple of tools. And as we look ahead to next year, we're looking where we can find redundancies. A good example is what we're doing tonight. We're using Zoom. We also have Google Meet inside of our district, in our Google Suite. So we're looking just at a license structure to see, can we just reduce the number of Zoom licenses to specifically the teams and departments that need it. That might be one example of a redundancy that we have in the district. Just to lift up one example, we're looking to negotiate with our vendors just down from the current contracts we have. We're also looking at reducing just consultant services, not too much. We can't go too deep there because we do rely on consultants for staff augmentation, but what we think we can scale back there as well. We have 15 positions that we are eliminating as well. 11 of them are vacant. Those are largely information technology coordinator positions that we added several years ago. We've been slowly filling to help implement all the different tools that we've added. So we're going to not fill essentially and eliminate those that we haven't filled already. So in total, that gets us to $5.1 million in reductions. Next slide. And so what will we keep? Well, we're going to continue our focus on innovation. As Dr. Collins mentioned, we're continuing our push with AI and student and staff AI literacy. A lot of that will be focused on professional development next year. We're moving with efficiency to continue to leverage the tools we have to eliminate any paper-based processes, continue to enhance our inventory management, continue to be really strong in tech support and getting our technicians out to schools and having a robust help desk. And we're going to continue to modernize. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll be bringing a Oracle Fusion Cloud project for you for approval. We're continuing our cybersecurity enhancements, includes network segmentation and just ongoing technology refresh. That obviously needs to remain. Next slide. In terms of what's going to change, it says insert tools there. That's an outdated slide for some reason that got populated and given to you guys. So we are actually still negotiating with our vendors in terms of what tools. Like I said before, for sure we're going to reduce some of our footprint in our video conferencing platform. And we're looking at other tools that we can that where there's overlap. We have Canva and we have Adobe, for example. And so we want to refine that and streamline that so we can really narrow down the licenses so we maximize both tools at a lower cost. Customization opportunities. This is something that will be impacted. When we reduce consultant services, it limits the availability of resources to create customized solutions for user groups, or there'll be delays in those customizations. It doesn't mean that our tools aren't good that we have now. It just means that if a user group comes to us and says, hey, we want to enhance this product, what we might have been able to do in, let's say, 30 days may take 60 days or 90 days now. So we do some of that crop augmentation. And then, as I mentioned, reduction of our information technology coordinators, that will change some of our service delivery that we were planning for, but it's not something we've implemented yet anyway. So I don't think there'll be much of an impact that people will feel. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to end the presentation and turn it over to questions. Apologize for the typo in that one presentation, that one slide.
No worries. Thank you for that, Dr. Zuckerman. Board members, do we have any questions? Dr. Moss.
Chief Zuckerman, thank you for your work here. I've got a question. We've got, I don't know, this is going to be a huge hyperbole, but we have 1,000,001 different programs. Every school is purchasing different programs. And while it may not impact your budget, can you talk to me around the work that you're doing around enterprise management? And I know you probably need the curriculum team here a bit, but I think, as the superintendent says so often, variance is the enemy of excellence. And that is certainly the case with software programs. Y'all know how I feel about Dreambox. It's been killing dreams for a long time. But can we talk about the work that we're doing around enterprise management so that individual schools are not contracting with random vendors to buy certain software, and we have multiple software? I understand principals have autonomy in that regard, but it feels in so many respects, and I really shy away from this word because it's often weaponized in education, and I'm not going to say it, but how can we be more efficient around enterprise management with software, and what work is your team doing to do that more?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So we have enterprise licenses, Dr. Moss, for a number of tools at the district level. And yet we have a legacy, like you're saying, as almost all schools do, with some level of decentralization for purchasing. And that changes with grants, with new programs coming out of the state. What we're doing with it is a couple things. One, 2 years ago, we moved so that all digital tool requisitions have to go at least up through the Division of Information Technology for approval. That was grounded in really 4 areas that don't quite get to what you're saying, but they're still grounded in: 1, are the tools approved for safety? 2, and security. 2, are they interoperable with our system? Meaning, do they integrate through Clever? And do they meet data privacy standards, and do they meet accessibility standards for students with special needs? So those are the 4 standards we look at. In that process, my team has a bird's eye view of all the stuff coming up, and we're able to now then go to Dr. White's team, Dr. Strader's team, and say, this isn't new for our environment. We haven't approved it yet, and there's a committee then that looks at us. If that doesn't get to some of the legacy tools that you're referring to, and so we're moving towards a more centralized approach of that review. And we're in the process of standing up a list of approved digital tools. But there is a cross-team component to it that you mentioned about whether or not it's the right tool from a student achievement standpoint. So we're moving towards a more centralized model. We don't want to give up that autonomy, like you said. But I'll be honest with you, Dr. Moss, we are not there yet.
Thank you
But
so
Board Member
much.
Moss, could I just add one quick caveat there, just to let you know that we did share with all principals what the digital tools are that we are purchasing for all schools for school year 26-27, so that they are aware of what they do not need to purchase with their own funds. And across academics, we're working closely also with community schools and Title I on, outside of those materials that we are providing as a district, what are some of the recommended supplemental digital tools that might be used for after-school programs or to support students academically.
Thank you, Director McDaniel. Vice Chair Briggs?
Thank you so much, Committee Chair Goins McCants. Dr. Zuckerman, I had one just poignant question, and hopefully this is for your office. I suspect it might be for Dr. Coleman. But I was curious about the technological modernization, the $1.9 million for the AI intelligence security camera capabilities. I was just curious to know if you could explain, and I want to kind of preface by saying that this might be a more difficult question to answer, so it's not meant to put you on the spot. The goal really is just to understand the rationale for the purchase right now. I know that we're hearing from the community that there's a desire for, funding in a certain way. And I want to just make space for the clarification around like why this is important, if this is actually relevant to your office. And then also, I think beyond that, is this grant funding? Is it restricted? Is it unrestricted funding? What's the source?
So I'm going to phone a friend, Mr. Briggs, and talk to Dr. Coleman or Mr. Washington specifically about them. So what I would say and it does tie back to something Dr. Moss said, which is our team is involved in reviewing this from a data privacy and security standpoint. The decision for the security camera software, I do would yield to Dr. Coleman right now. I see just a little bit more about some of those details. He mentioned it at the previous meeting.
Again, thank you, Dr. Board Member Briggs. So again, we're working with a cross-functional team to ensure that the security camera systems that we bring in place respect the data privacy components, that look at strengthening our posture to support the security of our buildings, but at the same time, not causing issues with respect to privacy of our students.
Okay, and well, I guess really the question I'm getting at, again, you don't have to give it to me now if it's not a clear answer, but really it's just like, why now? Is this an essential resource that's needed? And if so, can you explain?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. So again, we're trying to take a comprehensive look at how we can continue to strengthen the security posture in our schools. One component of that, as you know, are the security enhancement devices that we've put in place and rolled out consistently. Another is around the camera upgrades for our facilities, moving from analog to digital. Still others are building in alert systems for our buildings. And and another component of that is around being able to, with advance notice, identify threats to our buildings, whether they be vehicles that don't belong in our facilities or weapons that certainly don't belong at our facilities. And so we're trying to take a layered approach, as many districts are, to providing the safest campus experience as possible. So can we get by without the AI gun detection technology? We have been doing it so far, but again, we have to continue to provide as layered of an approach as possible to provide as safe an environment as possible.
Thank you. And then the last piece was just, is that restricted or unrestricted funding? Do you know? Is it a grant or?
These are unrestricted funds. But again, we've also been trying to utilize not just operating dollars, but also grant funds to try to support the improved security posture at our buildings. And again, when we talk about these layered approach, we're also talking about utilizing vape detectors. We're also being thoughtful about the design of our buildings, secure vestibules. So again, one component isn't everything, but everything provides something. So the more layers we can put in place, the safer we can make our facilities.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. I have, I guess, as a follow-up to that and kind of a clarification, and this can be either Chief Howell, maybe. Can you all clarify if the accelerants, that additional $50 million that we're asking, is that baked into this budget already, or is that additional funds that we're asking for from the county over and above what's in our current budget?
That the accelerants that we've been discussing today and over the last, several weeks is currently included in the proposed budget. So it's included.
Got it. Thank you. Board Member Olivo?
Thank you so much, Committee Chair Goins McCants. Dr. Zuckerman, I'm aware that since you developed this budget and today we have approved the possibility of virtual learning if we have additional snow days or potentially next year. So I wanted to ask if there were budget implications to that the board needs to consider looking at this budget.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I don't think so at this time, Ms. Olivo. I think the approach that we're taking with, and we'll continue to refine it with the sign out of the devices and the user agreement forms, I feel really good about that. Obviously, until we go to a virtual learning day and we see what happens, we won't know. But I think we're going to be okay in terms of just where we are from an inventory perspective and what we budgeted for. I may come back to you 2 years from now or a year from now, depending on a virtual day, and say, okay, now we're not in as good shape, but I think we're going to be okay for right now.
Glad to hear it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Board members, do we have any additional questions? Seeing none. Thank you so much, Division of IT, Dr. Zuckerman, for giving us this information. With that, I now return the meeting back to our chair. Was Chair Jackson able to join us? If not, I turn the meeting back over to our Vice Chair Briggs.
Okay, I do see Chair Jackson here, but I can give it another minute. I don't want to procedurally do anything that is inaccurate. Okay, for the sake of time, because we have 16 minutes, I'm going to say thank you so much to all for the presentations. And we are going to recess, I believe, until 7:30. So the time right now is 7:14. We will recess for 16 minutes, meaning that you can go off camera, and then we'll come back promptly at 7:30 for public comment. We'll adjourn. Or I'm sorry, we'll recess. Okay, we're going to get started. The time is now 7:30 p.m. Welcome back to the February 12th, 2026 Prince George's County Board of Education budget work session and public hearing for the FY 2027 interim superintendent proposed operating budget. To those of you joining us for the first time this evening, I'm Jonathan Briggs, Vice Chairman of the Prince George's County Board of Education. The Board of Education thanks you for participating in tonight's public hearing to share your thoughts on the FY 2027 interim superintendent proposed operating budget. Your involvement is essential as we work together to address the needs of the students and staff in Prince George's County Public Schools. Ms. McMillian, please call the roll.
Ms. Ajakaye? Dr. Anderful?
Present.
Ms. Boozer Struther? Mr. Briggs?
Present.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Goins McCants?
Present.
Dr. Moss?
Present.
Ms. Oliva?
Present.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
There are 8 members present.
Thank you so much, Ms. McMillian. There is a quorum, so we're getting started. The chairman requested all speakers ensure that the name used to register for public comment tonight matches the name that you are logged in with to the meeting. You will see a pop-up message asking you to join as a panelist. You have to select the button to join as a panelist in order to speak during the meeting. We will now hear the constituents' comments. The chairman recognizes the registered speakers for their public comments. To our registered speakers, you are allotted 3 minutes in total to share your remarks or questions and receive an answer. Speaking time may not be transferred to another individual. Speakers are expected to refrain from using profanity or derogatory language. A warning will be issued once. Continued misconduct will result in the speaker being muted or removed from the meeting. To support a professional and courteous environment, speakers are encouraged to refer to individuals by their titles, such as chair, board member, superintendent, or principal, rather than by name. Our first speaker for this evening is Ms. Holly Simmons, College Park Council Member, Paint Branch Elementary School Chinese Immersion Program funding. And I want to confirm Ms. McMillian or Ms. Johnson that Ms. Simmons is in the queue.
Yes, she's here.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, my name is Holly Simmons, and I am speaking this evening in my capacity as District 2 Council Member for the City of College Park. I'm also speaking as a product of public education and as an individual who comes from a family of educators. I'm here to express my strong support for maintaining funding for Paint Branch Elementary School's Chinese immersion program, as well as the middle and high school programs it feeds into as full immersion programs instead of world languages programs. As you know, language immersion is fundamentally different from world languages instruction. Immersion produces fluency, cognitive flexibility, and long-term academic benefits that cannot be replicated by a world languages model. The parents who have contacted me since the release of the board's proposed budget speak of older students thriving in advanced coursework and younger students who are deeply engaged. This program is not incidental to Paint Branch's success, it is central to it. When I visit Paint Branch Elementary, I see a diverse group of students who speak a variety of languages at home, united around a shared culture and a common language. Parents call the school a gem and wonderful, citing the immersion program as its defining feature. This program builds community and fosters cross-cultural understanding. Students and families feel connected to something special and unique. Finally, I cannot count the number of parents who have told me they either moved to or chose to remain in the City of College Park because of this program. In a region where we compete with neighboring counties, the district, Northern Virginia, and private schools, and in a system where funding follows enrollment, a program like this is strategic. The Chinese immersion program attracts and retains families in our city, in our county, and in our public schools. I recognize the decisions before you are incredibly difficult, and I do not envy you the task of producing your requested budget. But not all reductions are equal. Eliminating a program that is academically strong, community building, and enrollment driving carries long-term consequences. I respectfully urge the board to amend the proposed budget to maintain Paint Branch's program and its feeder programs as full Chinese immersion programs. I also want to share that while I am here in my capacity as an individual council member, the body of the Marin Council will also be sending a letter expressing support for continuing Paint Branch Elementary's immersion program following our February 24th meeting. With that, I thank you for your time, your service, and your commitment to our students and our families, and I am always available to continue this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Simmons. Our next speaker is Ms. Alicia Baines, Individual, Budget, Special Education. I'm going to again confirm with Ms. McMillian or Ms. Johnson that Ms. Baines is in the queue. And if not, we can come back to her.
Vice Chair Briggs, I don't believe Ms. Alicia Baines is present at the moment.
Okay, so we're gonna go to our next speaker, which is Ms. Shannon Reed, and then we can come back to Ms. Alicia Baines if she joins later. So Ms. Shannon Reed, Individual, the budget. And if Ms. Reed isn't here, I'm happy for us to move to the next public speaker, and then we can come back to Ms. Reed as well if she joins later, if she's present.
Hi, Vice Chair Briggs.
Yes.
I'd just like to make an announcement to tell the public commenters, if you could please have your name match what you signed up with, that would help us a lot, because we can't find you in the queue if your name is different.
So that is going to be for Ms. Alicia Baines and Ms. Shannon Reed. Please update your name so that they match what we have in our records, and then we'll come back to you. But we're going to move forward to Ms. Teresa Smith, Individual, Budget.
Good evening. I'm a parent in District 6, and my child attends the Maya Angelou French Immersion IB World School in District 8. I'm here today because I feel deceived after learning that the proposed budget would dismantle the immersion and IB programs. Families like mine were told a narrative that there would be minimum impact to the schoolhouse. That was far from the truth in our case. Rigorous years of study and financial sacrifice occurred to supplement my child's education. Just recently, he received his first DELF diploma, concrete proof of competency and hard work. And this isn't just about my child. Immersion programs are working. Students in language immersion consistently perform at or above their peers academically, including the NCAP assessments. And these programs have earned recognition beyond our local school system because of the quality of instruction and student outcomes. So why is a successful model being dismantled? We didn't start this journey for just 4 years. We started it for long-term trajectory, the full K-12 pipeline that is now being proposed out. You cannot talk about immersion without looking at the complete picture. Immersion is not a short-term elective. It is a long-term academic pathway. By cutting the high school program, you are erasing the destination we have been working towards since kindergarten. You are telling my third grader that the path they are on, the path students are excelling in, leads to a dead end. You are preserving the appearance of a global district while stripping away the very programs that make it real. To offer world language courses are not a replacement, it's a slap in the face. It's an insult to the years of biliteracy and cognitive development we have already invested. You are asking us to trade a gold standard education for a participation trophy. And the deception stings most when I look at the budget. You have found justification for over $600,000 in new central office and administrative costs, yet you claim you cannot afford to keep the lights on for student academic pathways. Two simple questions. What other alternatives were considered to address these budgetary concerns before you decided to cut these programs? Why are you protecting central office spending while asking our children to absorb the cuts? Do not dismantle the future my child has earned. Restore the full immersion in the IB continuum. Thank you, Teresa Smith.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. We're going to go to our next public speaker, Mr. Jamal Teal, individual, FY 2027 proposed budget.
Vice Chair Briggs, Mr. Jamal Teal is not present at the moment.
Okay, we can come back, and I just want to reiterate that if you are in the queue, please make sure that your name matches what we have in our records. We're going to go to Dr. Tiana Beard, individual, funding for high school language immersion programs.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Beard.
Okay. My name is Dr. Tiana Beard. I have been a part of PGCPS for 42 years as a student, former employee, and parent. I've benefited from the specialty programs, as have my two children, with my son being a current Spanish immersion student that has been in the program since kindergarten and is now a freshman at Largo High School. The specialty programs of PGCPS are one of the crown jewels of the county, providing a wide variety of opportunities for our students to gain invaluable skills and experiences to prepare them for various careers and life after high school. The most versatile programs offered by the county are the language immersion programs in Spanish, French, and Mandarin, leading to the seal of biliteracy. Attaining biliteracy in English and a global language will open doors for these students that would otherwise be unattainable. These programs prepare our students to not only speak to world leaders and corporations, but to read and write reports, global policies, and interpret for their neighbors as clearly as a native speaker. The high school sequence of the program is instrumental in providing exposure to more of the real-world conversation and experiences beyond the academic language the students focused on in K through 8. The 9 through 12 program prepares them for the real-world application of their language beyond the classroom, which is the final step to authenticating their biliteracy for practical use. To remove this access due to alleged budget constraints caused by the desire to increase security or other non-academic measures would be neglecting the very core of the mission and values of PGCPS. The sole purpose of us being here tonight is to ensure our children are properly educated to be purposeful and effective global leaders across all industries, yet erasing this program diminishes that pledge to our most important stakeholders, our children. Before cutting programs that directly serve students, the board should make administrative and central office cuts first. So I am asking the board to pause the February 26th vote on the budget, stop the elimination of language immersion programs, and hold additional public hearings so parents can be meaningfully heard. I personally was beyond excited to learn about the Spanish immersion program when my son was ready for kindergarten, and he received a spot at Phyllis C. Williams. His experience will help him have a strong foundation in whatever field he chooses to pursue, even with work opportunities as a teen. I implore you to save our Spanish immersion programs at the high school level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beard. Our next public speaker is Ms. Jillian Brockle, individual proposed cuts to PGCPS immersion programs. It's Ms. Brockle in the queue.
Vice Chair Briggs, Ms. Julia Brockle doesn't appear to be here.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to go to our next public speaker, and we can come back to Ms. Jillian Brockle if she joins later. Ms. Tanya Sweat, individual, the proposal to reduce funding of foreign language immersion programs.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I normally try to stay away from the Board of Education meetings and let you do the hard work that it takes to oversee our education system and prepare for the budget. I recognize it's not an easy task. However, I'm concerned about the cuts that are being proposed to our academic programs. No academic program should be cut. As one of the biggest proponents of the blueprint for Maryland's future, I fought to expand the investment in our children's education and in their future. And to cut the foreign language and immersion programs in high school for our students would be a big disservice. We brag that PGCPS is providing a world-class education to our children, but if you cut the immersion programs, we can no longer say that, because that would be a lie. Immersion programs are helpful and beneficial not just to our children, but to our community. I meet with and speak with employers daily who are looking for bilingual employees to hire, and they can't find them. If we don't prepare our students for the jobs that already exist, I don't even want to think about what's going to happen to the jobs that are waiting for them later. Immersion programs in the high school also are beneficial because not only do our children perfect what they learn in K through 8, they learn the dialect, the accent, and further bury themselves in the native tongue of the second language that they're learning. If you take that away, they won't be as perfected as we want them and need them to be in their bilingual expertise and later in life. We have a growing immigrant population in this country, but we also have a growing global economy. Prince George's County needs to be at the table, and we need to be first at putting our children there as well. I ask you to reconsider the cuts. I hope that you can close any budget gaps with private funding from grants that are existing and coming every day. I hope that you can find ways to close the gaps by defunding programs that are not beneficial to the school system anymore. But please do not hurt our children. They are our future, and we have to invest in them now so that they'll be prepared for what's to come in this world later. This is the 21st century, and we have to give our children a 21st century education. I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sweat. Our next public speaker is Ms. Natalie Miller, individual, FY 2027 proposed budget immersion program cuts.
Hi, my name is Natalie Miller, and I'm the proud parent of 2 students in the PGCPS Spanish Immersion Program and a representative of the Overlook Full Spanish Immersion School PTA. The immersion program is truly one of the crown jewels in our district. Everywhere I go, people are amazed that my children are becoming fluent in a second language in elementary school and looking forward to learning a third language in middle school. As you may well know, the gift that we're giving our children in an immersion program spans far further than just fluency. They're also being immersed in cultures that are different from their own and learning to think more globally. These students perform as well as or even better than their peers in Maryland standardized tests, despite the fact that they're learning all of it in a foreign language. But the gift that we're giving them extends so much further. Research shows that learning languages as children stimulates brain development in ways that we're only beginning to understand. You should be proud of this program and fighting tooth and nail for it to survive and thrive, much like we, as the families and teachers, are. From the time we all enrolled our children in this program, we've been told time and time again by representatives from all parts of PGCPS, the school board, the immersion office, all included, that our district had made and was continuing to make language immersion a priority, and that our students would be guaranteed placement through high school in the immersion program. You've been promising us a home for our children throughout their educational careers. The Spanish program specifically is very new, with the first graduating class still being in high school. These students have been guinea pigs their entire time, and they went into this with the knowledge that they're building a program for themselves and the students coming behind them. To cut this program off at the knees just when it's getting off its feet is unconscionable. The message these students are hearing is that this district does not care about them or what they've given the district over the past decade. To the students behind this class, especially the current 8th grade students and the Chinese immersion students, you're saying exactly the same, that you do not value them or the education that they've been working towards. Although our program is small compared to some, everyone involved, from the teachers to the staff, are committed and dedicated to its survival. As I'm sure you've noticed, the response to these cuts is only growing, and the only reason it's not larger is because of the way they're being carried out. Responsible organizations do not cut entire programs on a whim without the feedback and voices of the community involved. They do not announce it as an afterthought at a point when parents have been home for a week and a half with their students trying to balance work and childcare. You, as our trusted leaders, owe it to the communities you serve to reach out for the feedback and deliberation prior to making sweeping decisions that affect the futures and livelihoods of hundreds of students. Today, we're asking you to reaffirm the commitment you made to all of us when we enrolled our children in these programs. Reaffirm your commitment to the PGCPS immersion program by helping us to strengthen this program, not to destroy it. And if you do decide that changes need to be made, by all means, take the time to actually reach out to the families and stakeholders involved so that we're a part of the process and not blindsided by it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miller. Our next public speaker is Pavel Zurav-Lyov, individual, the only existing Chinese immersion program cancellation.
Hello, my name is Dr. Pavel Zhuravlev. I will provide input on the proposed school budget. I'm not aware of the budget being presented to the Board of Education in December as required by Board Policy 3130, or any waiver being requested or approved. I'm participating today, but reserve any rights I may have regarding the process. I have been the resident of PG County for over 15 years. The proposed budget calls to cancel our language immersion programs, including the only Chinese program in the county. I will focus on the problematic aspects of the cancellation proposal, such as excluding stakeholders, vague and factually incorrect communications, and not providing valid reasons for the cancellation. The Chinese immersion at Paint Branch Elementary that my daughter attends is loved and appreciated by students and parents of all demographics. The success of the program is reflected in the high percentage of students passing the internationally recognized language proficiency test every year. The Chinese immersion program is proposed to be substituted by the World Languages program. But make no mistake, this is not an adequate replacement because it would offer 10 times fewer hours of language instruction. Yet, in the program cancellation letter we received as parents, and in the presentation, in the meeting last week, the chief academic officer, her presentation, the World Language Program was deceptively presented as high quality language instruction and a similar substitute for immersion, which is simply not true. It is not a change, it's destruction. Nor was a clear reason for destroying the immersion programs provided. No stakeholders were consulted. And why the urgency? The interim superintendent stated on local news and in the budget proposal that he wants to cut redundant programs, programs with low enrollment, or programs lacking return on investment. The Paint Branch Elementary Chinese immersion program is none of these three. It's not redundant. It's the only Chinese immersion program in the county. Second, it's not under-enrolled. In fact, the school is overcrowded because it's a boundary school. And it has a proven success record in the form of language proficiency test, which is an indicator on return on investment. The cost of Chinese immersion program at Paint Branch Elementary is 1.2 million, which might seem high, but the program serves about 500 students, mostly from low-income families. It's a Title I school. We hear that the school system has to tighten its belt, that the interim superintendent does not want to go to the taxpayers for extra funding. Yet millions in new funding are being allocated towards shiny buzzwords like AI. For example, 4.4 million for AI surveillance in our schools. This is more than 3 times the cost of the Paint Branch Elementary Chinese immersion program. What is a real waste of taxpayers' money is butchering a well-established and successful Chinese immersion program that was built over 15 years. That's where the return on taxpayers' investment would go down the drain. I sincerely ask the Board of Education to reverse the proposed cuts to the language immersion program. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ravlayoff. For now, our next public speaker is Corey Little, individual benefits of being in the immersion program and why we shouldn't shut down immersion programs.
Vice Chair Briggs, there is someone named Corey. We're not sure if it's Corey Little. We tried to bring him over. He declined the invite, so we're not sure if that's actually him or another
Okay, I don't.
person.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Johnson. So I think we're just going to again request that all attendees who are public speakers have the correct first and last name, and then we will come back to Mr. Little if that's him. And we're going to go to Ms. Kelly Burgess, individual, the discontinuation of the AVID program in PGCPS.
Ms. Burgess is not here either.
All right. Our next public speaker is Ms. Amy Sawyer, individual, the importance of keeping DLI programs.
Hi, I apologize. Am I on now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Amy Sawyer. My second grader attends Capitol Heights Elementary. I'm the Maryland State PTA representative to the Outdoor Learning Partnership, where I co-chair the Colleges and Green Careers Working Group. I also bring a personal perspective on immersion education. My two sons were educated through a 100% Spanish immersion program. They still ask for money, but bilingual job candidates earn more than candidates who speak just one, so I'm grateful for their education. I could talk about Henry and Magnus forever, but I want to shift to PGCPS and my daughter, Ellery. I'm still coming up to speed on the budget. I haven't been able to identify where the budget was presented to the board in December 2025 as outlined in Board Policy 3130. Capitol Heights Elementary families only met with central office staff last night regarding changes, and a huge thank you to both Brendan Jackson and Amy Olivo for attending. That isn't sufficient time for families to understand the implications, form opinions, and engage with our elected board members. So I'll share two thoughts. The town of Capitol Heights has 3 elementary schools, and Chess serves both District 4 and District 6. Rather than eliminating the dual language STEM program at Chess, let's explore expansion through a broader lottery model, making Chess both a tag school and a DLI program in Spanish. There's already a bus route and far more families boundary to Cesar Chavez apply than are accepted. Second, Governor Moore just announced a $17 million mixed-use development at the Capitol Heights Metro just a few blocks from Chess, bringing 300 plus new housing units. How will we attract families if we're stripping down academic programs? The district faces significant fiscal constraints. However, we can't undermine our children's ability to prosper in response. The conversational focus of world language programs is not equivalent to a full immersion pathway. In a region like ours, multilingualism means jobs. Tonight, I ask the board to pause the vote on dual language programs, allow times for meaningful review, recognize that a strategic realignment of this magnitude should wait until PGCPS has a permanent superintendent. Engage families in transparent dialogue. Do not close the doors on our children now.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sawyer. Our next public commenter is Beatrix Chacon, individual, Chinese immersion program in Paint Branch Elementary School.
Good evening.
Sorry, just 1 second, Ms. Beatrix. I want to acknowledge that I see that Mr. Corey Little is in the room, so we are going to come back to anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak because we called your name. We'll come back to that after we continue down the list of our public speakers. Ms. Beatrix.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board,
ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chapi Zhu Lao Shi, and I have served as a long-term substitute at Paint Branch for 6 years. During that time, I have witnessed the dedication, care, and excellence of the Chinese immersion teachers and the powerful impact this program has on students and the staff alike. I also speak to you as a parent. My name is Beatriz Chacon. My husband and I have made a significant professional and financial sacrifice so our children could learn Chinese. When we chose Chinese as their third language, our options were extremely limited. One program in Washington, D.C., and Paint Branch here in Prince George's County. We were committed to studying in the county that we love and to its public school. So we fought for the opportunity to be part of Paint Branch. We applied multiple times for a transfer before being accepted and later moved to College Park so our younger child could also attend Paint Branch because transfer were no longer available. The sacrifice was great, but the reward has been greater. Today, our oldest son, now in middle school, confidently speaks Chinese and excels in his classes. Seeing him use the language so naturally affirms that every sacrifice was worth it. We are not the only family who has worked hard for this opportunity. Many families value this program and believe it is long-term academic, cognitive, and professional benefits. We understand concerns about the cost and numbers. However, programs like this create extraordinary opportunities for residents of our country. Early language immersion fosters critical thinking, cultural awareness, and lifelong skills that cannot easily to be replaced. I will close with a simple but powerful moment that reminds us why we must preserve the Chinese immersion program. While traveling through a large airport, tired and completely lost, we were searching for the exit so we could finally rest to be our vacation. Our 8-year-old son suddenly said, "There is the exit." Confused, we asked how he knew. There were no things we could read. He pointed at a symbol and said, "Mommy, Daddy, in Chinese, it is say exit." At that moment, we understood that this program is not just about learning vocabulary. It is building confidence, independence, and global competence. It's equipping our children with real-world skills that improve with time that navigate spaces we cannot. If in 8 years old can confidently guide his parents through an international airport because of one of the he learning in this program, imagine that we days a student will be capable of adults. That is why this program matters. That is why it's worth, and that is why it deserves to be saved. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chacon. I want to acknowledge really quickly that we have about 9 additional public speakers, and then if your name was called and we're coming back around to you, we'll come back to you once we get through those 9 public speakers. So we will acknowledge you if you've rejoined us. We're going to go to Hamina Esperacero, Individual Immersion Programs.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a student in Largo High School, and I'm in my junior year. And I want to speak why I think that we should save all the immersion programs. And I speak as a student in the Chinese and serve in the Spanish immersion program too. So I'm gonna give a brief speech, and if time lets me to, I'm gonna do it in Spanish and Chinese too. All right. Thank you for allowing me to speak in this meeting, and good evening, members of the Prince George County Board of Education. My name is Jimena, and I am a student in both the Mandarin Chinese and Spanish immersion programs. Hearing about the possible closure of these programs worries me deeply because immersion education is not just about learning a language, it is about opening doors to a world. Through immersion, students gain fluency, cultural awareness, and real-life opportunities. In a globalized society, speaking more than one language creates access to international careers, higher education opportunities, and stronger communication skills. Programs like ours also allow students to earn the Maryland State Seal of Biliteracy and take exams such as STAMP and APs, which recognize years of hard work and dedication. Personally, this program have gave me a sense of belonging and allowed me to study abroad and grow academically. Closing immersion programs will take away these life-changing opportunities from future students. I respectfully ask you to reconsider and protect these programs for the next generation. And thank you for your time. Now, if you let me, I will do my speech in Mandarin Chinese. 感谢你允许我在此会议上发言。晚上好，乔治王子先教育委员会的各位成员，我叫 Jimena， 目前就读于中文和西班牙语沉浸式项目。听到这些项目可能被关闭的消息，让我深感担忧。因为沉浸式教育不仅仅是学习一门语言，而是在为学生打开。通过沉浸式学习，学生能够获得语言流利度、文化意识以及现实生活中的实践机会。在全球化社会中，掌握不止一门语言能够带来更多机会，包括国际职业发展、更高等教育机会，以及更强的沟通能。像我们这样的双语项目，还是学生有机会获得马里兰州双语能力认证，并参加 STEM 和 AP 等考试。这些考试认可了学生多年付出的努力与坚持。就我个人而言，这个项目让我产生了强烈的归属感，并帮助我在学业上不断成长。它也让我们机会出国学习，获得改变人生的经历。如果关闭城市，
Oh, you were doing amazing, and I am super impressed. I think we're all super impressed. And I'm so grateful that you provided that testimony to us. If you want to also submit that as written testimony so we can see exactly what you were saying, that was powerful. We have a finite amount of time, so we are going to have to move forward. But I'm so grateful for you presenting that and sharing that with us.
All right. Well, just a final thing, as a student in the immersion programs, I think that the programs bring a lot of opportunities to students, and we shouldn't close them. Yeah. Time is not enough, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was amazing. All right, our next public speaker is Dale Jiminson, individual number of schools teaching immersion and attendance records.
Yeah, well, I knew you were going to call me after that. That's just not fair. Good evening. My name is Dale Jiminson. I'm a veteran and a parent, and my two children are enrolled in Dora Kennedy French Immersion Language Program. I'm here because the proposed FY 2027 budget was released on February 5th, the same day as the first public budget hearing. Families were expected to review hundreds of pages and provide feedback immediately. Board Policy 3130 exists to prevent exactly this situation. Despite this, the board is moving forward toward a February 26 vote that would eliminate language immersion programs. These are not extras. They are academic pathways that the students are already in and that families relied on when making school decisions. And I think people have iterated that earlier. What you're doing is you're stripping away years of dedication, perseverance, and commitment from the children that have shown up and given their all. Cutting their wings before they can fly will not make PGCPS a stronger program. In fact, it will for sure make it a bland, uncultured, and weaker one. For the record, you have at least 8 immersion programs, 5 of which primarily focus on Spanish. If this process were fair, it would involve a pathway for French, Spanish, and Mandarin equally until at least the kids in the system can go through the program that they started. For example, Montgomery County has 3 Spanish, 2 French, and 2 Mandarin programs, and they seem to manage just fine. Why can't we? One of the county's biggest challenges from your own records is attendance. Take a look at the attendance rates of immersion programs throughout the county and see just how dedicated these students and families are compared to the system in general. Dora Kennedy French Immersion, for example, scores at a 91.7 attendance, while the district-wide attendance on average sits around about 70%. What does that mean? That means we show up. So if we're showing up, that means that parents and students alike are dedicated to the system. At a bare minimum, there should be a roadmap for the students that are currently in the pipeline to achieve the goal they and their parents have worked so long and hard to achieve. Before cutting programs, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling a little bit. Before cutting programs that directly serve students, the board should make administrative and central office cuts. Our children should not pay the price for failures in planning or process. I am asking the board to pause the February 26th vote, stop elimination of specialty programs in language immersion, and hold additional public hearings so that parents can be meaningfully heard. Thank you, Dale Jemison. Simplify. I got it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jemison.
Yeah.
Our next public speaker is Erica Watson Staples, Individual Language Immersion Programs.
Good evening. My name is Erica Watson Staples, and I live in District 9, but I have 2 children in the Spanish Immersion Program, one at Overlook Full Spanish Immersion School in District 7, and one at Kettering Spanish Immersion Middle School in District 6. I am here to voice my concern and frustration regarding the proposed elimination of the language immersion programs and to advocate for the continuation of these programs. My family has been involved with this program for 9 years. And I say family because when parents make the decision to enter their children in a language immersion program, it is truly a family effort that requires additional work and tremendous sacrifice from every member of the family. We live in Brandywine, so my middle schooler's bus arrives at 5:45 in the morning, before the transportation office even opens, to ensure that he's at school by 7:30 a.m. Our days are long between family obligations, sports, school clubs, and activities, and we spend a significant amount of time doing work, as there is additional challenge of having to interpret and translate assignments on top of learning new concepts. And you know what? We wouldn't have it any other way, because we understand the privilege and the value of this opportunity. Being multilingual is a hidden superpower that breaks down barriers and builds bridges. And the language immersion programs are the training grounds for these young superheroes. There have been countless instances throughout the years where my children were able to assist in the most helpful yet unexpected ways because of this superpower, whether at the grocery store, doctor's office, and even helping adults to navigate in a foreign country by serving as translators. According to the Prince George's County Board of Education website, your vision is to ensure that every student graduates ready for college and careers in a global society. And as elected members of the board, it is your duty to honor that. This program has provided students with an incredible opportunity to be global leaders and public servants, and you owe it to them to do whatever it takes to ensure that this opportunity not only continues, but also grows and thrives so that they can equally compete with their peers in surrounding counties, many of which, as you know, also have language immersion programs. The fiscal year 2027 proposed budget was not presented to the Board of Education or to the public in December as required under Board Policy 3130. So I'm asking the board to pause the February 26th vote, stop the elimination of language immersion programs, and hold additional public hearings so parents can have meaningful conversation and be heard. And I'll leave with one question. It was mentioned in this meeting that you recognize the need for bilingualism in the school district and that there is a concerted effort to hire bilingual staff, all while putting the language immersion program on the chopping block. How do you justify that? Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Watson-Staples. Our next public speaker is Karina Lawrence, individual support of maintaining the Largo High School immersion program.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Karina Lawrence, and I'm a parent in Cheverly with 2 children in the French immersion pathway at Dora Kennedy Immersion School. I am here to respectfully urge you to maintain the funding for the language immersion programs too. I appreciate the difficult financial choices facing PGCPS in this budget, but I want to highlight that immersion programs are not extracurriculars. They're core academic pathways that align with PGCPS's own goals for students to become bilingual, biliterate, and multicultural. PGCPS highlights on your website that immersion students develop higher levels of proficiency in a second language while mastering that same rigorous academic curriculum that their peers do. Immersion students often outperform their monolingual peers in the standardized test, and they demonstrate enhanced problem-solving skills that will last them for a lifetime. Immersion works because of the language and the academic content every day. Developing proficiencies that world languages classes alone will never be able to achieve. My family also knows firsthand how fragile the access to the immersion pathway can be within PGCPS. After a brief overseas assignment last year, my family returned to Prince George's County and received conflicting information about re-enrollment and language placement processing. My son's re-entry process took months. It was unreasonable, and it reflected a strong preference throughout the entire process for us to be pushed towards our catchment school over honoring the commitment that I made with my family to the immersion program. Ultimately, we prevailed, and today my son is an honor roll student back with the DKFI family, thriving academically and socially because of that rigor and the community within the immersion programs. PGCPS explicitly highlights that immersion students have multiple opportunities to earn the Maryland State Seal of Biliteracy, giving students an academic recognition that they can support scholarships, college pathways, and career advantages. Tonight, the immersion community is here because we care deeply about these programs and the future of our children. I ask you to listen to your constituents, protecting these pathways, not just a line item, but as a long-term investment for the student successes that align with the core mission and values within the PGCPS. As you are balancing the FY27 deficit, please do not solve a short-term budget challenge by dismantling a long-term success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lawrence. Our next public speaker is Camila House, individual programming cuts for the FY 2027 budget.
Ms. House is not present at the moment.
Okay, we can come back to Ms. Camila House. Our next public commenter is Wida Stoker, individual, Paint Branch Elementary Chinese Immersion Program.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Stoker. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're muted now, but you were unmuted initially. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to speak in favor of the immersion program. I am an educator retired public school teacher who has taught for over 40 years. This is a wonderful program. Every school system in the state of Maryland should be offering it. There are 555 children who are in the Chinese immersion program from kindergarten to 12th grade. These kids, when they go out, as many other speakers have spoken, they will speak fluent Chinese. They will be able to get a job and bring an extra benefit to their employer. I've been on here since 5:30. I've listened through the budget. You are saying you support bilingual education by bringing teachers from Puerto Rico. You said you wanted to grow your own employees. You are growing your own employees because a child with 13 years of Chinese has to step up into college. And if they want to go into education, there you have them. This must be reconsidered. You must keep all of the immersion programs in Prince George's County Public Schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Stoker, and thank you for your service. Our next public speaker
Thank
is Brianna Boswell. Individual proposed cuts to the language immersion dual language programs, especially at Cesar Chavez.
And that's Capitol Heights, actually, but thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm a PGCPS parent and educator. My son is enjoying his second year in the dual language program at Capitol Heights Elementary School, and my daughter's in the 4th grade tag program there. Learning to speak Spanish for my son has been such a joy and a source of pride. After only 1.5 years of learning and speaking Spanish, his accent is better than my 7 years of study in a world language like model when I was in school. And this is what is being proposed to replace the dual language program at Capitol Heights. Studying in a world language model does not at all compare to the value of being in a dual language classroom every day with a native Spanish speaking teacher or, someone who's studied and is an expert level speaker. I'm extremely concerned about the language opportunity that would be lost for my son and his peers at Capitol Heights and the other children that you hear, the families today across the county. If this proposal succeeds, the loss of language is not my only concern. Spanish language and culture is a very big piece of what shapes the school culture at Capitol Heights Elementary School, not only for those in the dual language program, but throughout every space of the school. The influence of our Spanish-speaking teachers and the dynamic cultures they represent is priceless and cannot be replicated through a world language model. If the county moves forward with this proposal, I'm very concerned about the teachers whose positions will be eliminated and the representation that will be lost within the school. Not to mention student to teacher ratios would double in all those classrooms, which affects teacher workload, teacher morale, and the level of support students receive each day in their classrooms. I'm also very concerned about families that opted out of the lottery program when their child was eligible because they had a strong language program in their neighborhood school at Capitol Heights. What will these students do now if this program is eliminated? If this proposal were to move forward, it would only be equitable to do so in a phase-out model where students who are already in the dual language program will be given the opportunity to finish their K-5 dual language experience. If this had to happen, choosing to stop one grade level at a time beginning with kindergarten, like not beginning to enroll would be the only way that would make sense, but I pray we can find another solution around this. I also want to mention that the timing of this proposal feels very insensitive. I cannot imagine a time when there would be a good time to cut language programming, especially in a county as diverse as ours, but it truly feels like this is the absolute worst timing to propose this change. We're living in a time where language is being weaponized to divide Americans. Programs meant to encourage and support people of diverse backgrounds and historically marginalized and oppressed groups are being cut left and right. Surely we would not allow that to happen in our county. Our county's beauty is in its vast diversity, and ensuring that the next generation of PGCPS students and families are able to learn a second language and experience and understand the culture should be a priority. Also, earlier in the presentation, there was a conversation about the importance of hiring bilingual staff. This is the future. Bilingual Spanish and English speaking staff are needed across the country in all fields. Cutting this program will threaten the chance that our children are among those being hired 10 to 20 years from now. I hope that the board and everyone else that has a say in this process can please reconsider the proposed cuts to language. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boswell. I want to acknowledge again for those public commenters that we may have called your name. We're going to come back to you. We have one last original speaker. So we are going to go to Mr. Timothy Meyer, individual, the importance of being one PGCPS.
Thank you, Vice Chair Briggs, and thank you to all the parents who signed up to engage on this budget tonight. We need your energy, and we need each of you. But I want to make very clear, the board and this administration are not choosing to make cuts. They are being forced to because Prince George's County has spent decades consciously failing to give us the resources that we need. Annapolis refuses to even debate new sources of revenue this session, despite the blueprint facing a $3 billion shortfall by FY30. This budget crisis will only get worse unless we unite as one PGCPS and act together. This board and PGCPS are not the problem. I have been in the trenches with them, fighting back against $1 billion in proposed cuts last year. We saved funding for community schools and English learners and so much more. But we need help. To every parent, we need your voices throughout the county, and we need you in Annapolis. We cannot fight school against school or program against program, or all our children will lose. PGCPS is overly reliant on PGCPS is overly reliant on state funding, with about 33% of our budget coming from the county. That's far lower than our peers. Montgomery County gets 2/3 of their budget from their county. Anne Arundel is nearly half. Now imagine a year or two in the future when that state funding really starts to collapse. We are not heading towards a fiscal cliff. We are already dangling over it. That's why we are asking the county for an extra $50 million this year to help stabilize PGCPS. We have done our part, tightening our belts by $150 million. Now we need the county and Annapolis to give us a little bit of breathing room and help us out. The number one thing every parent can do right now is call or email the county demanding that $50 million. And while you're at it, go ahead and ask for even a little bit more. I'm also asking PGCEA to help hold our legislators accountable at every level of government. Don't use endorsements to reward incumbents or friends or big names. Use them to fight for students and teachers. No full funding, no Apple ballot, period. Finally, we need everyone to join us in Annapolis for Blueprint Day on March 2nd. And I'm asking PGCPS to help in this effort by promoting this event district-wide to all parents and families. Prince George's parents and teachers can be one of the largest, most powerful lobbies in the state, but we cannot fight each other. We must put students first, work as one PGCPS, and fight together. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Our next public commenter is Coraline Glassman, individual, immersion program support.
Hola, me llamo Coraline Glassman y estoy en cuarto grado en Overlook Full Spanish Immersion School. No sabía una palabra de español cuando empecé en kinder y ahora yo puedo hablar en otros países. Yo amo a mi escuela. Today we heard you say that bilingual teachers are important for our school district. If that's the case, why are you getting rid of our high school Spanish program? Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Glassman. Our next public commenter is Michelle Clark, individual, special education.
Vice Chair Briggs, it appears Michelle Clark is here, but she's been declining coming over to join the panel.
Okay, well, we can come back to Ms. Glassman, I'm sorry, Ms. Clark, and then we'll go to Ms. Alicia Baines, but we can come back to you, Ms. Clark. if you accept the invite. So the next public speaker commenter is Alicia Baines, individual, budget, special education.
Mayor, board members, my camera is off on purpose. This represents what too many families experience in PG County Public Schools IEP meetings. When a parent brings an advocate, asks to document the meeting, or requests to record, the tone shifts, access gets smaller, transparency gets treated like a problem. They remain with their cameras off, and when you escalate, nothing is done. The behavior continues. My name is Alicia Renee. I'm a Prince George's County parent. I'm also a proud autism mom, and I am a non-attorney special education advocate. According to my records, I did register tonight as Alicia Renee, but if my name is not properly reflected, that is consistent with a broader pattern of how my family has been handled. My child has been denied FAPE, and I have written findings documenting noncompliance with federal and state special education requirements. Instead of correcting the issue and funding services, PGCPS continues to devote public resources to due process litigation. That is not accountability. I'm asking this board to prioritize compliance again, timely correction again, and services over legal strategy. On the slide titled Accelerant/Strategic Investments, the $35 million, special education is listed as an accelerant alongside AI-enabled cameras and AI literacy. Special education is not an accelerant. It is a legal obligation under IDEA and COMAR. This budget also reflects the $150 million gap, a $40 million salary lapse assumption, and more than $64 million in non-public tuition. That combination signals capacity failure and predictable service risk. Before approving this budget, the board should require a clear breakdown of how special education dollars will directly improve IEP implementation and how success will be measured, missed services, evaluation timelines, compensatory services owed versus delivered, staffing vacancies, and restrictive placement trends. If you can't measure compliance, you can't claim compliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baines. Our next public speaker is Jamal Teal, individual, FY 2027 proposed budget.
Vice Chair Briggs, it appears that perhaps Mr. Teal may have left out, and I'm not sure. There's a gentleman, well, there's someone listed as Teal, but I'm not sure if it's Jamal.
Yeah, I see, and I know he was in the room. So, Mr. Teal, if you are Teal, we can definitely give you about 5 seconds or so to just update the name so that we can pull you over. Otherwise, we are going to have to move to our next public commenter. But we appreciate you coming tonight. Okay, I haven't seen any updates. So I'm going to move to Corey Little, individual, benefits of being in the immersion program and why we shouldn't shut down immersion programs.
Hey everybody, my name is Corey. I am a student of the immersion program. I'm here to talk to you about how important the immersion program has been. I completed 9 years at a K-8 immersion program, my Andrew French immersion. It has definitely given me a huge advantage over many people around me. Currently, I'm bilingual, I'm fluent in English and French. I'm the senior class president, have over a 4.0 GPA and over 25 college credits. And I've been selected for honors programs at colleges I applied to. The language immersion program, mixed with IB, brings more challenging curriculum. Having to learn another and different subjects in another language at a young age keeps your mind able to retain more information. I would personally say I've been able to pick up things pretty quickly, mainly because learning English is much easier since I was used to learning both English and French. My elementary school was often very challenging. It kept me on my toes and it produced very smart individuals, including myself. So when I got to high school, all of my work felt way easier. This effect wasn't just me. all of my friends, everybody I surround myself with to the French immersion program have been consistent honor students. And not only are we good academically, but our ability to communicate personally and professionally is better. We're able to interpret our emotions better and have a better sense of responsibility, as well as being able to articulate ourselves better. We sometimes still talk to each other in French, and we bond over the times that we have together. It was shocking when we finished the program and we saw how a lot of the other kids acted. We were more mature than people, not only in our age group, but people above that too. Everyone is way easier to communicate with. And you'd be surprised how many people, especially in my age range, don't have that ability of communication yet. And being able to know 2 different languages, it's opened many different doors. I don't know where I would be without my African friends who I would not have met if I didn't know French. So knowing that my experience isn't unique is a testament to the quality that this program is a necessity. When I heard what's going on, I was confused, because why would school take away a program that's so important and so beneficial and has been proven time and time again to produce quality individuals? So I just say I wouldn't be here without it, and I don't think other kids should have to go without it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Our next public speaker is Camila House, individual programming cuts to the FY 2027 budget.
Thank you, and I apologize, I was here. Good evening, Chair and members of the board. My name is Camila House, and I'm a parent at Maya Angelou French Immersion. I'm also the PTSA Advocacy Chair for the MAFI PTSA. I have 2 children at MAFI, and I'm speaking tonight in my individual capacity with one clear request for you to preserve the full IB continuum and protect immersion, especially secondary immersion, a core academic pathway. I chose PGCPS because I found Maya Angelou French Immersion paired with that IB pathway, something families often believe that they have to leave the country to access. I grew up a diplomat brat in an international environment where multilingualism was normal, or globalism was normal. I learned French as in an immersive setting, and I wanted the same opportunity for the children of this county, a county that I always came back to and that I love. If I ever doubted the value of immersion and of a global education that IB provides, that doubt ended in an airport in Montreal. My most timid child, the one who often refuses to speak French outside of the classroom, or did so at one point, asked another child in English, what is your name? When that child responded in French, without hesitation, my child switched languages, continued in French for the rest of our time there. No freezing, no translating, just communicating. She was used to making that switch, and when she needed to do so, she did so without hesitation. This is an acute travel story that I tell you. It was confidence that she built, it was competence that she had, and it was access that she had to that other child, to other opportunities, because she speaks another language and she has that global culture. And it matters here. We live in the DC region, one of the most internationally connected job markets in the country. Multilingual workplaces are not rare here. Globalism is not a field trip in the DMV. It is in the neighborhood. Reducing these programs that prepare our children for the reality moves us backwards. Immersion and IB work hand in hand and must be discussed together. Immersion builds biliteracy, cognitive flexibility, and communication skills. But IB builds the academic structure, the critical thinking, the analytical writing inquiry, and the global perspective through a proven continuum from PYP to MYP to the diploma program. Together, they form a coherent pipeline. Across the country, there are districts facing budget pressures that have to make difficult choices, even in our area. But high-performing enrollment-driven pathways are often protected because they strengthen the entire system. So I have to ask, why are we considering reductions to programs where students are thriving and families are deeply invested? Families have planned around this pipeline. And so I'm going to ask you once again, please take your time, do it right according to your board processes. and preserve the full IB continuum and protect immersion through secondary immersion. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Our next public speaker is Shannon Reed, individual, the budget.
Good evening. Consistent, accountable, job-embedded professional development could happen by reimagining the PDLT role. At each school, 4 content-specific PDLTs with strong backgrounds in literacy and pedagogy daily teach one class. Teachers routinely reserve that teacher. During 2 other periods, the PDLT co-teaches with various teachers, spending a week to a month with one teacher on an ongoing rotating basis. Students benefit because they observe active collaboration that sharply contrasts the effortless learning that has enthralled and entrapped them. And they benefit from having the support of 2 teachers. The teaching and investment at the school level enables each PDLT to develop a school-wide workshop twice each year based on students and teachers developing learning profile, the school's goals and data, the PDLT's observations and interactions. This deep dynamic work is priceless. Nevertheless, you must pay PDLTs appropriately, and the elimination of SGMs, which have decreased focus and increased work while wasting time and money, frees resources for this. Everyone's goal is the same: build literacy and legitimacy. Importantly, this work signals the shift from the costly overinvestment in administration, including 12-month administrators, and the ensuing overinflated roles and expectations. This has cost everyone, but robbing the IB and language immersion students of opportunities because many of their peers who are no closer to grade level reading than they were before consuming massive resources in EOP, EVP, and summer school year after year after year is equivalent to starving your possibilities so you can feed your problems. Students need teachers, tasks, time, and tests to develop literacy. PGCPS's focus on administration and technology compromise all of those things, including the buses students needed to access after-school tutoring, sports, and extracurricular activities. This underutilization of tutoring reflects lack of access. Additionally, many students simply need an all-year school year to create additional possibilities for them. Most are 3 or more grade levels behind. The 15-year disinvestment in instruction and students and teachers is chiseled on tombstones, written on hearts, tattooed on data, imprinted on culture, and typed in honesty. While weeping in my classroom, I responded to my 18-year-old daughter's text at 9:17 a.m. on August 27, 2025 with, "Enjoy, I slept until 6:46 a.m. today. I'm tired and sad." She wrote, "Why are you sad?" I responded with, "Just the weight of Marshall's death, knowing that the stress and she endured undoubtedly led to her coming in on Monday and took the toll on her body. Boom, that could have been me." She responded with, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It's definitely the environment and the constant stress. I think it would have been you if you didn't take that break this summer. The break 12 days before the school year ended cost me my last bit of leave. In the past 4 years, I've used excessive leave dealing with out-of-control students. The disinvestment in them is also memorialized in budgets. This budget must change to show that PGCPS is serious about transformation and literacy because it prioritizes students and teachers too. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. And our last public speaker is Michelle Clark, individual, special education.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I want to start off by thanking a couple of people because I know some of your priorities are in line with my priorities because Dr. Felton and Amy Olivo presented at our last PGCEA Representative Council on some of the priorities and extra funding that you're asking the county council for. I can tell you I am a special ed, early childhood special educator teaching in a pre-K co-taught classroom at Kenmore Early Childhood Center. And the problem that's come up over the last few years, and I'll also thank Ternell Bowman because we meet with her every month and work with her very closely, is that we have a lack of options for our students going in to elementary school. There was formerly a comprehensive program which has gone by the wayside several years ago. Right now, students are either going into a gen ed setting with a resource teacher and resource services, or for those who have been diagnosed with autism and qualify for the autism program, they're going there, or in some cases they're going to regional programs. As a co-teacher in pre-K, I have never in my career, past 7 years, I believe I've been doing this, had to send a student anywhere other than autism or a gen ed setting. Last year, unfortunately, I had a student who was nonverbal and therefore did not score very well on the Battelle inventory because some of those answers must be given verbally. It's a good inventory for those who have those verbal skills, but for those who don't, it's not necessarily an accurate reflection on their true abilities. And when we got the response back in an email that he wasn't accepted into that program, and unfortunately at this point, they're not really able to come out and observe our students to see what they're really like in person. And that I had to send him to a CRI, a comprehensive program, which is a non-degree seeking track. And he had to be put there at 5 years old. I literally left our special ed coordinator's office and cried for a half hour because I had seen what that baby went through in the year he was with me. Yes, he was still nonverbal, but he had some words. He was trying to talk. He was trying to communicate. He was trying to get out what he knew. And he just wasn't quite there yet. I'm still in touch with his parents, and I give them every resource I can. But for there not to be enough seats in elementary autism to service our students who are on that borderline, it is a shame. And I just wanted you to know that your fight and my fight is the same. Any support you need going forward with the county council, I'll be there. Just ask. Y'all know how to find me. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. And I do appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Clark. Okay, and we have had a few, I think about 3 or so public commenters that weren't able to speak tonight. So you can always submit testimony to we have an email for that, and we're happy to send that out to you if you send an email to any board member or board staff member directly. There are also 26 written comments, which are on Diligent for public viewing. There are no pre-recorded videos submitted. And I want to say thank you all for all the participants who provided comment tonight. As the Vice Chairman, I want to inform the public that the board will hold its final virtual board work session and public hearing on Thursday, February 19th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. Please check the Prince George's County Board of Education website and/or Diligent for meeting information and updates. And I want to thank you all again for watching and joining us. There being no further business, the time is now 8:48 p.m. and the February 12th, 2026 Prince George's County Board of Education budget work session and public hearing for FY 2027 interim superintendent proposed operating budget is adjourned. Have a good night.